service. This, I don't know what Sunday it is in January it is, but it is quite dull and dark and kind of miserable outside. But you are welcome to the Sunday service, just as always we have here on a Sunday. We have a few people already waiting. It's such a dark, miserable day. I was trying to film this morning the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, and I had to go to a car park. I mean, a Tesco car park underground, which is just about as dark as it is outside, but at least it's not raining inside, which is pretty good. Hopefully you can all hear me and see me pretty well. It all seems to be running along nicely, which is good. John Carney has already come in and wished everybody a happy new year, as this is the first one back in the new year. And charged me phone. What date is it? Sunday the 13th of January. So this is the third Sunday or the second Sunday in January. And we have a live meet coming up. Don't forget, put in your diary our actual live meet that's coming up as well, which is next the 20th. No, it's not. It's the 27th of January. Of which we'll have a live meetup right here in Midway in Portlaoise again. So if you go over to our Facebook page, I know loads of you don't like Facebook anymore. I don't like Facebook either, but it is good for creating events. If you go over to our Facebook page, the Sunday Service Community, you will find all of the information there about our actual live meetup here in Ireland. So you come meet me, meet all the gang, meet all the people who make all the noise here every single Sunday, which is brilliant. Lovely bunch of people. Happy New Year to anyone who I have not spoken to since. I have to do a couple of shout outs. People who I've met while I'm out filming and they want to shout out, which is really good. Sarah and James, who stopped me this morning in the middle of filming to tell me how cool the channel was. I don't think Sarah watched the channel, but James thought it was deadly. Sarah still got a selfie just in case I was famous. She told me that as well. It was really good. There's a couple of other people, but I met another fella called James as well. Another James in Newbridge, and David and Peter in Dublin. And I met a man the other day in, where was that? Near McDonald's in Dublin. I was getting a lift. No, it wasn't. I was on the way into a meeting, actually. I was charging up my car, and he pulled up beside me, and he said, love the show. He said his name was Peter. So there's all the shout-outs done so far. You're very kind. It makes me feel terribly famous. Of course, this channel is growing at a rate of knots. We got 8,000 subscribers in the last 28 days. 150 subscribers since yesterday. So I'm not sure what has after happening on the channel, but it seems to just be growing exponentially every time I go back in and check the numbers. It's so much so I can't really keep up with all the comments anymore. There's just so many. I do read them all, but I can't respond to every single one. It took me 2 hours and 20 something minutes yesterday to respond to all the comments from the Audi A6 video, and I still wasn't finished. And there's another video gone up yesterday of the Ford Mondeo Hybrid, of which everybody seems to be watching as well. Like 5,000 people watched that since yesterday, so it's pretty popular. Sorry, I'm having a look here at my Facebook Sunday Service Community page just to see that I missed anything, because I haven't been logging in there as much as I should have. I'm going to give a shout out to the people who are actually attached here. Like I said, this channel is growing so fast. You can hear that bling. It's on my Instagram. It's just suddenly popped up there as well, as I asked a question this morning about the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV, and when you plug it in for a charge, it says 25% battery left, yet the battery on the dashboard says 0. So I figured out what it is. I got Mitsubishi Ireland answer me. Thank very much to Robert Montgomery, who's the marketing manager. He answered me this morning on a Sunday to keep an eye on things, and said it always reserves 25% of the battery. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will quote him. Isn't that the sensible thing to do, is actually quote what he said? So I'll just flick into my Twitter here, and I'll quote what he said. So it always maintains at least 23 to 24%, as the rear motor is always driven by the traction battery, even when the engine is connected to the front wheels. So that means it's always driving the rear wheels, even when the front wheels are being driven by the petrol engine. It's still a four-wheel drive. Also, if you drain the battery and then run out of petrol, the car will use the remaining battery before coming to a complete standstill. So even if you run out of petrol entirely, it'll still run off the battery. So thank you very much, Robert Montgomery, Mitsubishi Ireland, for answering that question on a Sunday morning. You're very good. Because I was trying to film today, but it was absolutely lashing with rain. Huge amount of new subscribers on Instagram, so if you want to check it out, it's really good. It's just Bob Flavin on Instagram if you want to get me there. Usually you get a photograph of what the car is on test this week, or sometimes I'll ask a question, you get to answer the question and see if you can get yourself into videos as well. There's lots of those questions comes in. Eric Watford, big shout out to you, man. Thanks to have you here. Of course, you've answered everything. You're very good. Brilliant fan. Ian Purcell, thank you very much. Zdenko has joined us as well. Thank you. Niall McHugh, Happy New Year to everybody, of course. Thank you, Niall. I think I just turned the brightness of my screen there a little bit. It's very dark. Oh my God, so many of us. All right, join us, brilliant. Mike Burke, Happy New Year, Bob. Are you getting a spin in a new Camry? Not booked in yet, Mike. Toyota seem to be very, very slow about booking in the press cars. I'm really looking for. I had it go on the RAV4. Don't tell Toyota. I had it go on the new RAV4 hybrid. Does not feel like a Toyota at all. Feels very mature, very grown up, very nice to drive. I think the Camry is going to be along the same lines. Shouldn't have had a drive at them. I will be having a sneaky look at them. They're on a road show at the moment. They're coming here to Des Used Motors. And we'll get a little sneaky look at them and then. But I've definitely had it go on the RAV4. Very, very nice. Total departure for Toyota. Toyota marketing department has gone inwards. They don't like talking to the press much anymore, seemingly. They don't seem to be talking to anybody out there about their cars. But we'll see as the year wears on. I'm looking forward to a new Camry. It's been a while since I had to go on a Camry, in fairness. Eric Quattro's here as well. Welcome back for 2019, Bob. Looking forward to all the upcoming videos. There are so many videos, blood. Let me put it this way. This week I had the Outlander PHEV. Next week I have the Nissan Leaf and the Audi Q8. The week after that I have the Hyundai Kona and the Jaguar I-Pace. That's just January. Right? And then I'm booked straight through to, I don't know, coming close to summer at this stage. I have at least a car booked in every single week. The channel is growing gigantically. And that's really, really good. But we'll see how time goes. John Coleman, a long-time supporter of this channel, has joined us here for the Sunday Service. Very good to have you along, John. Thank you very much. John has been a huge supporter of the channel for the longest time and has always been here. So, big shout out to you. Jerry in Wicklow. Hi, Bob. Great to see proper no BS review rather than Aegis burn the tires off millions of plus yokes will never own. It's true, Jerry. I steer away. I've been offered loads of things. I've been offered Porsches and I've been offered a trip over to Gaydon for Aston Martin. And, Charles Hurst was in touch with stuff with Bentleys and things. And I kind of turned it down because, I would get a lot of hits. But you guys have no interest. You're not gonna buy one. You're probably not gonna want to own one. I'm gonna show you things that's just unattainable. And I think that's got a place. But I think it's more like Top Gear or Auto Express or something out that direction rather than the direction I want to go in, which is just the cars we drive every day, the kind of stuff that you guys go out and buy, the kind of cars I want to own, because they actually have more stuff in them. It's really easy to make a supercar, not easy to make a supercar, but it's really easy to make a supercar interesting by making very fast, very quick, all wings and things. It's very hard to make an Outlander PHEV interesting. It's just better that way. So I like doing the normal cars. Thanks, Jerry. Mr. Tracy, hi Bob. Your thoughts on keeping my diesel car for the foreseeable future, as it won't be worth trading in until the EVs are established. You are right, Mr. Tracy. If you have a diesel car currently, do not get rid of it. Hold on to the car. The most environmental option you can take with anything is to use it until it's gone, until it's broken completely. The problem we have environmentally is that we consistently consume everything. So we buy a new table for the house, and a year later we buy another table for the house, and a year after we've done, and it's the same with televisions and things. Wood is not a big deal. Wood is something, a renewable resource. We can continue growing it. Plastics are the problem. Non-reusable plastics and things. These little bits of plastic, they add up to being a big problem. So if we change our cars every 3 years and a car's lifespan is 10 to 15 years before it's actually scrapped in the end, mostly, on an average sort of lifespan, then the best way of holding on to a car is you hold on to it for 10 or 15 years, just service it throughout its life, and then, assess it then. My car is 12 years old and still brings the kids to school and the wife to work, and we still go out for driving every once in a while. It feels 12 years old. It feels a bit newer than that. I suppose I've minded it, but it still environmentally has a tiny impact. Only what's coming out of the exhaust. Servicing, we drop the oil out, the oil gets recycled, but it's not going to be destroyed at any point in the future. So if you've got a diesel car right now, try to keep it on the road as long as you can, unless you find it necessary to change to petrol or electric. I'd love to see most people turn into electric at this point. I am more or less a convert in that direction. There are some real big infrastructure problems, but other than, we'll get over them. Raymond Grace, Bob, kill the background music on your music while you're talking, very distracting. You say that, I keep debating with myself every single time I make a video about getting rid of the background music and just going for the silent ones. The ones that make the most hits all have background music in them constantly, bed music. The ones that have the least hits are the ones where I've cut the music out. So I hate it myself. I don't actually like bed music under everybody when they're talking, but I don't know what it does. It seems to keep the mood going. People watch for longer. I can't tell what the hell it is. I'd love to get rid of it, Raymond, to be honest with you, because it's a pain in the hole actually putting background music in, choosing it, deciding which one to go, which one to use, how the tempo of it, and then it comes out kind of funny. Why did the channel grow? Because you're doing a great job, Bob. Thank you very much, Denko. I do try my best. I've always tried my best. I seem since about say September, October last year, I started to see growth happening. November started to grow very quickly. December really took off. Now January has been like boom. Yesterday, I tweeted yesterday, I was thanking everybody yesterday for passing 32,000 subscribers. But you look today and it's at nearly 32,200. So like 200 people have subscribed since yesterday. So it's like a massive growth all of a sudden, which is really good. There's Cross has joined us. Cross is our resident electrical expert with electric cars. If there's a question you have, he generally is able to answer most of those questions. Paul Guilfoyle is here as well. How are car sales looking so far in 2019? Miserable. Diesel versus petrol versus electric. Got a petrol Ford Focus ST line myself. So car sales is very hard to predict, but right now it's down. It finished down about 4.5% last year overall, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in a market this size, 4.5% is a lot. Used car market is absolutely murdering the new car market. English imports are murdering second-hand used car sales here in Ireland. That's also a problem. We had Nissan come out. He released a press release yesterday. It was yesterday or the day before or something, saying that we should ban used car imports from pre-2014. I swear that's what he said. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my entire life. But he wants to ban it because obviously there's an awful lot of Nissan Leafs being imported from England into Ireland, and supply here is killing them, and maintaining the batteries and things is also killing them. Warranties and things. But right now, car sales are down or looking down. I'm listening to dealerships talking to me. There is a buzz around electric. There is a buzz around hybrid, but people still aren't ready to make that jump. And I don't blame them. It's a big step. It doesn't feel like a big step after you've stepped, but before you step into that realm, it does feel like a big step. Especially when there's a lot of negative stuff online at the moment. A lot of people going, I bought electric, it didn't work out for me, I didn't like it. I bought PHEV, it didn't work out for me, it was horrible. For me, it worked fine. I've had a PHEV now for 7 days. It goes back in the morning. I still have half a tank of petrol in it. I've travelled over 400 kilometres, almost all of that on electric. So it works fine. David Hanna, Bob, why do you not give the price of the cars you review? That is a bloody good question. I'll tell you why, because the price is all over the place. When I mention the Irish price of a car in the review, people from England, people from the US go, my God, that car sounds so expensive, when it's actually pretty much industry average here. The only way I could do it is to mention both prices, so mention the UK and the Irish price. But the problem is, the minute I mention the price, it's wrong, because there's always a deal on, there's always the starting price, the VRT price, everything changes throughout the year. So by the time you watch the review, if you watch it in 6 months' time, the price probably isn't relevant anymore. The price may have gone down or gone up. Who knows? So it's very hard to base anything on the price. The price is always in my head, and I always think of it versus the price of the car next to it. So if I think it's too expensive, I usually mention the price. Or if I think it's extraordinarily good value, I'll usually mention the price. But if it's just basically industry average, it's often hard to get the price in. So it's not trying to hide anything. It's just because some of the reviews that are being watched right now are 3, 4, 5 years old. And those prices are totally irrelevant these days, because the car might not even exist. George Websdale. Hi Bob, took possession of my 2013 VW CC Sport. I'm glad I could help, and I'm loving it. Sent you a beer voucher last week on PayPal. You're very good, thank you very much. That's George. I went to school with George, or his brother, with the Websdales from Killartown. But I did my best to help choose the car, check the history. I did a few little bits of misery on the background, so hopefully it works out for you, and hope that car stays on the road for as long as you like it. If you're enjoying it, that's good. That's all you really want. It's just gotten black dark outside and more drizzle. You know, it's Irish rain. Do you ever hear the expression Irish rain, right? So it's not raining, but it's not dry. It's this drizzle, and within seconds you're drowned. It's like being in a misty shower. It absolutely murders you every time, and it's very hard to deal with. It's also very dark, so it's very hard to get a bit of daylight into your life. A bit of to get up out of bed and do something. Like I put on at least half a stone at Christmas this year, so I need to do a bit of exercise to get rid of that. Joe Lyons. Hey Bob, great to have you back. Thank you very much, Joe. And pick your vast knowledge on all things auto. You're very kind. Thank you very much. Joe Lyons is, of course, here every week listening. Big shout out to some of the bus drivers out there as well. I know I was talking to another bus driver, not the bus driver who normally comments on our videos, but another bus driver who plays this Sunday service every Sunday in his bus on the route. I can't say the route. God, it'll give away who he is if I say the route. Anyway, to anyone who's listening on a bus at the moment and listening to the Sunday service, been streamed through your radio. It's gas. It's gas how people are consuming information this year. Look at the TAM ratings, or the ratings from RTE this year. Every single show and every single movie down in the ratings. Everything down in the ratings. BBC announced exactly the same thing. Every single show that they put out was down in the ratings for Christmas. Why is that? They're just looking at their own world going, oh, less people are watching TV. Actually, no. More people are watching this. More people are consuming content in a different way. And that's the problem that everybody seems to be missing. I was asked the other day, would I go on television by a TV guy, but I felt I was being asked as like a pat on the head. It was like, oh, good boy, now you're on the internet, come and do the real thing. You're going to have a bigger viewership than you. Go away. Anyway, it's funny. I was on BBC Radio 4 the other day. I am doing some more work for BBC Radio in the UK in the near future. So if you're in the UK at the moment, you will hear more of me on BBC. But of course, Midlands 103 is my home here in Ireland. And we do the All Revved Up show every month from Tullamore. So that'll be back on next month. I know there's a massive listenership in Midlands 103. It's a fantastic place to hang out, really is. John Nelson says Happy New Year. Come on, John. Good job, says, can't pronounce your name. Anyway, Paul Foyston, Insignia Grand Sport looking good? No. I'm not a big fan of Insignia, lads, I have to say. The exterior looks good. Not great, good, but the interior still kind of old, and it feels kind of wooden, and it just doesn't seem to be getting moving, and that's a problem for Insignia. And I had the Opel Corsa a few weeks back as well, the new GDI, whatever, or GTI, whatever it's called, petrol one anyway, and the car was great, but the suspension was too hard. The interior fit and finish just was something that felt like 4, 5, 6 years old. It just felt old. The whole thing did. And I don't know if that's funding or because they got bought by PSA or Peugeot or what's after happening there, but I just feel like they're falling behind. The cars look great on the outside, but they don't live up to it on the inside. So Insignia Grand Sport, if it comes out and does well, I'd be surprised. I think Peugeot is going to murder everybody this year with the 508. I really do. 508 we're still waiting on delivery. I was on the international trip of that. It seems like years ago since we're in I don't remember where we were. South of France, somewhere around Nice or something. Brilliant looking car. Can't wait to drive it here in Ireland, but I think that's going to just tear the arse out of anything that Opel tries to do this year. Owen Dunn says, good to see channel do well. It is. It's just getting a little kick up the ass and going. We'll see what YouTube can make of it, whether YouTube pull the plug on that as well. They have a habit of giving you a little injection and then they take the injection off you and it suddenly just falls off a cliff again. So we'll see. Hopefully everybody will subscribe. Go over to Facebook there, find our Sunday Service community channel, which is the busiest channel I've ever seen on Facebook. Loads of information coming out from guys answering questions for each other, which is great. So part of that community. Twitter is where I hang out. Sometimes I find it a little bit depressing. Sometimes look through is not with Brexit. Instagram is a great place to hang out. Bob Flavin, I am there as well. Loads of action. There's loads of activity around the place. So subscribe to one of the channels out there, including this one, obviously. Mark Albert. Hi Bob, camper vans. About to buy one, but concerned. Oh, that's just, sorry. I was in the middle of that question there, and of course it scrolled. And when it scrolls, it just scrolls forward into the 50,000 questions that are ahead of me. Oh my God, there's so many questions. Coming down, here we are. Hi Bob, camper vans. About to buy one, but concerned about diesel. There doesn't seem to be another option. Do you know of any? There isn't another option just yet, Mark. I know Volkswagen are coming with the ID, which is a car, but they've also planned the California to come in electric as well. Don't know where the hell they're going to put the batteries, the amount of space that thing has. You don't have an alternative except for a different fuel. I mean, by that I mean natural gas, or some version of diesel, or some version of, there's no battery version really for a camper van. See, camper vans are a long range thing. This is where it all falls down, moving from diesel to electric. Long range, I mean, actually big mileage. You want to cover it in one shot like you do in a camper van, where you just take off today in Portlaoise and go to Galway for the afternoon. You want to set up, you don't want to stand there charge that. Now, they're ideal candidates for electric because you plug a camper van in anyway. Right, so you run off the campsite power. So the ideal candidates for actually going completely electric. The biggest problem will be weight. The weight of a camper van is usually 3 tons, somewhere in that region, just to begin with. When you take the petrol or diesel engine out and put in an electric engine, it's still going to be over 3 tons. It's got to haul around. So, it's not impossible, but right now it's not a thing. Yeah, I don't think it's such a small market as well, camper van wise. I just don't see it being a big thing for the next couple of years. We'll see though by 2020. Everybody's hinging on 2020 though. Once Brexit is all finished and settled down, we'll see then as to whether we can find an electric camper van, a decent one. I'd love 2 more camper van reviews, but just so few of them. Cross says Irish EV sales are lagging. 2015 we were ahead of everyone bar the Norwegians. Now the Swedish EV sales are at 8%, UK is at 4%, and ours are still below 1%, despite EV being even more suitable for Irish drivers. Suitability is a really good topic actually for electric cars. This is probably the most ideal. Actually, I can quote Tesla saying this is the perfect situation to have a Tesla car in, right? A number of reasons for that. One is we have only one card opens all of the charge points. And I was in Kildare Village last week, and this week, and they have charge points that don't need a card at all. You just plug the car in and it just starts to charge. There's no nothing. You don't need to register anything. And so that was pretty good. But we have the outside of that, one card opens all of the charge points, and that's the end of it. So that's really good. 2, we don't charge for on-street parking or on-street charging. Sorry, we do charge for on-street parking. We don't charge for on-street charging. Yes, that will happen probably this year sometime, late on this year. So that's another benefit. And secondly, the sheer size of the island. You can cross the island from coast to coast in a few hours, 3 hours maybe, one side to the other. North to south a bit further, 5-6 hours maybe at most. But generally speaking, just range wise, we're in the perfect situation for an electric car. Yes, we don't incentivize them properly. What we're doing is we're on neither side. The Irish government has done nothing about climate change. Nothing really concrete about climate change. And electric cars, petrol cars, diesel cars, they make up such a small proportion of the problem with the environment, but yet we've done nothing to aid them or do anything with them either. We've incentivized buying the electric cars, but still people are a bit unsure where electric's going to be. We've also got these jumps that have happened as well. So original Nissan Leaf would do maybe 100 kilometers, second one would do maybe 200 kilometers, and it's these big jumps that are happening very quickly. Now we're up with the Hyundai Kona doing 400 kilometers, and new Nissan Leaf coming out with 60 whatever is big battery in it, going to do 400 kilometers as well. So there's these big jumps. People are very scared of those big jumps, because what happens to your generation 1 Nissan Leaf is that people like me want it. Oh, I only need it for 100 kilometers a day anyway, it's fine, but there's a lot more. There's other mitigating factors in that. Norwegians made the price of a diesel or petrol car sound really expensive in Norway, so people just naturally gravitated towards electric. Big problem we have here in Ireland is queuing. Queuing for a charge point is a big problem. Every time I go down to that fast charge, except for this morning, fast charge here in Midway, there's a car charging, a Leaf usually, but a car charging every single time I've been down there. So, and you end up stuck in a queue of people waiting to charge, because that Outlander PHEV uses a fast charger that is the same one that's suitable for Nissan Leaf. John Nelson, 2019 Skoda Sportline DSG 2-litre 190 horsepower supercar. I think it won this year. Really good, yeah, really good car, no problem. Now, I will say that Skoda have softened their suspension somewhere. I noticed it in the Superb particularly. I could actually hear the suspension creak in the back of the Superb coming down off speed bumps and things. So it just got very, very soft. Gorgeous on a motorbike. Just went on forever. Would go forever on a motorbike. But any sort of sporty driving, a little bit soft now at this stage. 190 horsepower is a good engine. Solid, reliable. Buy a DSG if you can. Get a good one now. I mean, test it. Make sure you test it. It should go right through the gears. Bump, 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 bump. All the way up, all the way down. Very quickly. But really, really nice car. Very comfortable, very reliable. I've had no problems with them at all. I can continue to recommend them. Even though now, if you actually type in Google Bob Flavin reviews, the first thing to go up is Skoda. It's like I'm known for Skodas or something. Anyway, Door Rob says, hi Bob, any thoughts on BMW 630D GT? 6 Series is a gorgeous car. What's it called? Grand Coupe? Is it Grand Coupe? Yeah, Grand Coupe is the most beautiful machine you've ever driven in your life. If it's GT you're after, that's the one with the big weird roof on it. Is there a 6 Series GT? One with the big roof. Plenty of room in the GT lines. They were actually a Chinese car. Never really supposed to come out here. Chinese like big cars. So they like loads of room in the car. I don't know why. They're not big people. But they like big cars. So the GT was invented more for the Chinese market than here, but it's come out here as well. So you can get a 5 Series GT, which is a great big bubble of a yoke. A bit weird looking, I think. It might be a bit hard to get rid of it when you want to sell it on, but plenty of room in it. I mean, as a family vehicle, it's gigantic, if that's the one you're on about. If it's not, and you're on about the Grand Coupe, it is one of my all-time favourite cars. I still love it to bits. If you can get a 640, is it 640 or 630 GT? It's 640 diesel, 630 diesel, whichever one it is. I think it's 640 diesel. It's a beautiful car, beautiful thing. Must be my age, Bob, about the background music. Yeah, you see, I know, I can't wait to get rid of it either. I'd love to get rid of the thing, but just the videos, you look through the videos, the ones that have the background music do the best numbers, and the ones that haven't got the background music do the worst numbers. So I can't tell what it is, whether people just don't like hearing wind noise or something, and they just want to hear music when you're not talking. Maybe. Or maybe just getting used to it. Listen to the radio. You listen to 2FM. When anyone talks on 2FM, there's this background music, this bed music that's always on, and it dips when they talk and it comes back up when they don't. And it's automated. The whole thing is automated. And you use the same bed music for all the shows and everything. It's madness. Who listens to that channel? I've been on that channel a few times. Sorry, I was on with Nicky Byrne and Jenny Green a couple of times. You know Westlife? Nicky Byrne? Yeah, I know him. John Coleman says, hi Door Rob, I had a 630 diesel, great car, but the rear air suspension went on it after year 3. Oh my god, you don't want that, man. Air suspension costs a fortune to fix, and it's really hard to fix as well. So if you drive into any old kind of ordinary mechanic and ask him to fix the air suspension on a BMW, he'll just start to cry because he wants the money, but it's just such a hard job. Really, really, really hard. James Dunn, well Bob, and Happy New Year to everyone from Jim the Bus Driver. There he is. James Dunn has joined the stream, the bus driver who streams us in the bus, which is really good. Thank you very much, Jim. You're very kind. But it wasn't just Jim that I was talking to, there was another bus driver. Sorry, time for a quick slurp. In the words of Keith Floyd, which I'm not drinking one coffee, but I was watching Keith Floyd's show here on YouTube actually the other day. I love Keith Floyd. Tony S. Hi Bob, leaving aside environmental factors, when is the best time to trade a car 3 years plus petrol 1.6 Fiesta ST? So you've got two options there. One is if you want the newest car, you trade in December. So drive into your dealership in November, December and start looking at whatever car you want to get, order it and agree to trade in value, agree to all your prices, and then it's gone in January. If you want to get the best price, the best time to trade in is just before the second plate of the year. So that happens in the turnover of June. So you want to go the month before and bring in your car then. And that will get you the best price. Because at that point of the year, most dealerships are kind of scared that their sales figures are going to be down. And I know that's really bad against dealerships, but that's generally the way it is. So they want to get their sales figures up for every registration period. So the end of every month, they're looking at their trade figures, which is why most car dealerships and most distributors in the country will pre-reg 100 cars on the last day of the month. It just gets their numbers up again. And then they'll sell those cars over the period of months. So it's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. They are eventually going to be car sales, just they're not car sales in that month. So when you see that, I don't know, Toyota or Renault or someone has taken the number one spot, they've usually bought the number one spot that year. They just pre-regged a pile of cars. But if you can get one of those pre-regs with your trade-in, then you're sorted. And try and do that just in the middle of the year. If you want to be really canny, probably the best month is when it's the quietest month, which is just like August. August, September, everything goes dead in a car dealership. Lads are on holidays. Families gone on holidays. Everything's happening. Everyone's gone away. Car dealerships die of death. Drive in then. You're going to have the worst choice, but you still have probably the best price. And that goes for any country. You can take that to the bank, boys. That works in England. It works everywhere. August is still like that dead month. Derek Knox says the Grand Tour is on next week, season 3. Yeah, it's about time, isn't it? Bit of a build up to this one. I had to say, Jeremy Clarkson looks dreadful, doesn't he? I mean, he looks like he's out there. I know he's a hard liver, drinking, smoking and all that, but he looks every bit of his age. So does James May. Hammond manages to hold on to his youth a bit better. He's had a little bit of work done, though, I think. Don't say that out loud. But it looks like it's going to be an exciting season. It's got to be more exciting than Top Gear. Top Gear looks like, to me, I don't know if I'd even bother watching it at this stage, other than I don't have to tune in a channel to do anything to it, like Amazon. You have to pay the fee and press the buttons and click the things and all that to make it work, whereas BBC is just BBC. But I don't know if I'll bother watching anything to do with Top Gear this year. It's a shame. It's such a shame they never got the right people involved, never got it moving in the right direction. It's dying a death, and I don't know if it's ever going to recover, no matter what funny faces you put in there. What BBC seem to have completely forgotten about is that in their own right, James May, Richard Hammond and Jeremy Clarkson are journalists. They are car journalists. They started with cars. They've done sports. They've done... Okay, so Hammond went off on some... what I would call titty TV. So he went off and did Men in Motors and stuff. But it was always cars. So they've always done something to do with cars, mechanical stuff, whatever it is. So they've forgotten that. And now they're bringing in people into Top Gear who are not car people. They're cricketers and comedians or actors or whatever. So it's just meh. Same as Matt LeBlanc. He was never going to last there. Not Invented Here says, yes, I bought a UK import i40, great value. I can't debate it any longer. I used to go, buy from your local dealership, go to your local dealership, and you still can. You still get great value at a local dealership, but local dealerships are now responsible for the majority of UK imports. So there, I've said it now, SIMI, come and tell me I'm wrong. You made all the statements you want about you shouldn't buy UK imports, but you know what? Your dealerships are doing most of the importing of the UK imports. Joe Lyons says, ordered a new car, went to Petrol, but had to change option 3 years for E-Tron, was told was the best option. But I do have a question. Does getting the ECU remapped mess up the warranty? There's 6 in one, half a dozen the other. So when a car is invented and the engine is invented with it, they test it well beyond its limits. So way more. My God, there's so many of you watching. Do you know how many people are watching? I haven't even looked at the numbers. 143 of you watching right now this very moment. Click the like button. Thanks very much. Anyway, so back to the ECU. So when a car is tested, say I'm just going to pick some numbers now, right? So they take an engine and they go, right, we're going to make a 100 horsepower engine. What to do is they test it up to 150 horsepower. So to make sure the car can withstand that, because at certain altitudes and in certain climates, they need to make more horsepower in that engine or less horsepower in that engine. So at higher altitude, a car gets starved of oxygen, and so the horsepower is actually less. So if you drive a car up Mount Everest, not sure that's possible, but if you drive a car up Mount Everest, if you start with 100 horsepower, you'll probably only have 20 or 30 horsepower near the top because it's starved of oxygen. It doesn't have enough oxygen to make the explosions inside the engine, and so the horsepower, the torque, everything falls away. But when you remap a car, so you take what the car company said, 100 horsepower, that's all you need. And you add 20 to that, and you get 120 horsepower. It's been well tested within that limit. It's quite easy to do, but please, make sure you're not getting an idiot to do it. You can buy these ECU remappers, you can buy all these software devices and things on Amazon these days. They're all there. You can get them, plug them straight into your own machinery, and you can do your own work outside as well, resetting lights and turning off warnings and everything else. And these are all fairly cheap, from like a tenner upwards. Even the most expensive Bluetooth ECU checkers out there, you're talking maybe €200 or €300 at most, right? So everybody has one, or every mechanic has one, thinks they're all brilliant because they know how to do it, they've taken a course, or they've pressed a few buttons, or watched a YouTube video on how to do it. But go on reputation. So go on someone you know has had it done before, someone you can talk to, the people who've done it before, and then you'll very quickly find out if someone is very good at it or not. It should be no problem. But when it comes to warranty, if something goes wrong with the car after it's been remapped, you can absolutely guarantee your dealership is going to go, that's out of warranty. Not going to touch it. So don't do it while it's under warranty, is the best answer for that. Unless you want to... Unless you're absolutely sure you're not, no, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, by the way, in my Ford Focus video, or Ford Mondeo video yesterday, I turned off the car while I was driving. Don't do that. Don't try that. It's very dangerous. I was on an empty road. I was totally controlled, so it was okay. I was doing about 20 kilometers an hour when I turned off the engine. FM Carve says, EV sales are so small that I think it's a bit premature to put petrol and diesel to rest. You know, I don't know. Right now you've got Volvo, not going to make any more diesel engines yet. I had the Volvo V60 the other week, diesel. You have Toyota, not going to do any more diesel engines. Yes, their diesel engines are in all of their vans and all their commercial vehicles. You've got so much happening. We're in a moment in time that in the future your great grandkids will be reading about in history books. That's what we are in right now. This minute we are going right through the middle of that. No one ever knows they're making history when they're going through it. No one. Joe Lyons says, sorry, new cars now, the A5 Sportback 2-litre TFSI 252 Quattro S-Line. You don't need more power than 252 horsepower, but don't mess with the ECU on Audis. Not while it's under warranty, anyway, that's for sure, because they are complicated. They are very low tolerance engines. And what I mean by that is that they are done to a very specific level for a reason, and they're built in Europe as well, which means they're at European standard. You could probably get 300 out of that, easy enough, but you are asking for trouble. And what do you want more than that anyway? 2-litre TFSI is good. Electric cars run on coal factories. This is an old argument, but it's not true anymore. Not in this country, certainly not in the UK or most of Europe. Germany just announced no more coal-fired anything. They're not going to mine any more coal. Polish coal is going the same way, not going to mine any more coal to run the coal-fired stuff. We have shut down our turf bogs here. There's just so much happening in that direction. It's a valid, very valid argument in certain countries. It's a very valid argument over the last few years, but the way we're moving right now, that's not going to be a great argument in the future. But anyway, I'll read it out anyway. It's okay. Electric cars run on coal factories, and their batteries use rare minerals from Africa, also changing. These batteries themselves are very environmentally unfriendly to dispose of. What do you think? We don't dispose of them for a start. We recycle batteries. So Renault is currently behind the scenes very carefully setting itself up as a battery recycling company. Tesla is doing exactly the same thing, battery manufacturing and recycling. Now I do agree there are some kids out there mining lithium out of the ground in the Congo, so that's just true, but we're looking for replacement, different ways of powering batteries and things. So we do have to, like I said, we're in a time of flux. But for sure, we're getting rid of coal, we're getting rid of turf, we're getting rid of wood fire. We are going totally renewable, particularly in Ireland, but it's coming. It's very slow here, but it's coming. Very slow, but it is coming. Europe is a little bit further ahead. Tell you what, drive around Austria there and just cross any one of the mountainsides to see how many wind farms there are standing there in front of you. It's all happening. It's all changing. It is coming. It's difficult. We're getting there, but it's very difficult. Cross answers that question as well. Irish grid power last year was less than 5% coal, and even on 100% coal, EV beats ICE for emissions due to the 3 to 5 times efficiency advantage. Yes, I would definitely agree with that. There is an element. So if we all owned an airplane each, and 100 of us flew from here to America. Imagine an airplane each emitting all of the CO2 emissions. Now take 100 of us and put us on one big jumbo jet, a modern one, and fly us all to America. How many CO2 emissions come out then? It's the same amount of people doing the same distance, but we're all being much more efficient by going in the same thing. Same for buses, same for trains. The only advantages any of them have is because they can carry a large amount of people across an area. Now, the same applies for coal or electric that is generated by a generating station. So one station burning coal to generate enough electricity to power all electric cars is better than 1,000 ICE engine cars driving with one occupant to Dublin every day. That's straightforward. It's a difficult one to wrap your head around, but after a while you start to realise that coal is an enemy. It's got to go, like all the CO2 emission stuff has got to go eventually, but right now it's actually more efficient to do it that way than it is to pump petrol into your car and burn it. Eric Watford, the electric car series is a good idea. What other cars are you planning on reviewing in that sector? I've been through them all, but realistically, right now there is the Outlander PHEV, Nissan Leaf, Jaguar I-Pace, Hyundai Kona. I'm in negotiations with Tesla for a Model 3. Anyway, I'll probably put a Tesla Model S in there at least, maybe the Model X or something. What else is there? There's very little else in the segment that is currently on the market. There is the Audi E-Tron on the way, which is the electric 4x4, middle of this year, towards the end of this year. It's a bit far away still. But after that, there isn't that many electric cars, boys. I can tell you, the choice and the range is actually quite small. There's a new e-Golf, which I will get the newer one in the near future and make another video of that, but I don't think the range is any different. I think it's actually the same, or more or less the same. So I don't know whether that'll be make a different video. And that's about all the electric cars there is at the moment. I've done the i3, as you've already seen. Malcolm Bentley, have you been looking at 94 amp hour i3 for the last 2-3 months? But it seems to be, price seems to have dropped 1.5-2k in that same time, so I'm sticking to what I've got. Yeah, because the price is fluxing around the place at the moment. That's the problem right now, is that there is a demand for used electric cars, but there actually isn't that many used electric cars on the market. If you start looking, you can get a Generation 1 Nissan Leaf for less than $5,000. Like, it's huge money for an old car. It's still an old car. Whatever way you look at it, it's still fairly old. But people are charging a premium for them because there's a belief that they want electric cars. So it's a problem. I'm not sure we're going to get through this problem too quickly. Don't forget, I always try and think in 5 years to 10-year gaps rather than thinking in the next 6 months. If your car is running and it's fairly efficient at the moment, don't change nothing. Leave it alone. Don't think you've got loads of money to spend. Let's go PCP. Hold fire for a minute. 2020 is going to be a big year. A big year with electric cars. There's an awful lot in development. A lot of cars in development right now that we're hearing little bits about. Volkswagen ID is on the way. I've seen Bobby Llewellyn's video. Frankly, a miserable video. He's such a... Oh, this is terrible. It just drives me nuts that he can't ask real questions about real things. God, if you're going to have a voice, you have a proper voice. Ask some real questions. I want to know the range. I want to know what kind of batteries. What's the system they're using. What's the efficiencies they've got. Anyway, there's loads of questions. What kind of tyres are on the car as well? It all plays a part. The tyre choice is going to be a huge factor. Rolling resistance is a big thing. You can limit the rolling resistance, then you lose grip, ergo Prius tyres. Or you can increase the grip and then lower the range of the car. That's really your only options when it comes to tyres. So tyre choice is vitally important with electric cars. And if you look at the BMW i3S that I reviewed recently, one of the things I point out in that is go research the price of the tyres of the car before you buy them, because I've seen ones that are 500 quid a corner. That ain't cheap, guys. That's like $2,000 for a set of tyres. Hello Bob and everyone. How behind schedule are you at this point? Not behind. I don't know. Oh my god, I'm answering questions from 20 past 2. It's now 14:45, so sorry. I'm catching up on you. A lot to get through though. Of course, it's the first one back. Make sure you subscribe, all of you. Oh my god, there's so many people watching. Make sure you subscribe. I used to be happy when there was 20 people watching. Now there's nearly 200 people watching, so it's crazy. It's crazy to have you all here. It's brilliant. Don't forget, this does come out as a podcast as well, which I do get a gigantic amount of questions from. It's on iTunes, it's on Podbean, it's on Spotify. It's on Spotify as well. Do you know I'm on Spotify? If you do Bob Flavin on Spotify, you'll see my playlist and the Sunday service is there too. So it's pretty cool. The batteries do not use rare minerals. The majority of packs by weight is aluminium, followed by graphite and copper. Lithium is a common and only 3% WBV, even I don't understand it. Most EV cobalt is not from Africa. Yeah, you see, told you. These are all put out. Watch your sources. Watch where you get your information from. You know me by now. I pay no attention to what marketing people tell me. Really, it just, you have to tell me this thing and I hear it comes out that ear, and then it's like, yeah, well, that's good. I just got a text message a minute ago asking about the guys behind me. These are put in by my daughter here. This is Dan TDM. If you don't know who Dan TDM, you haven't lived, right? So she's got a little Dan TDM thing here. He's a gamer on YouTube. A guy from England. I think he lives in Brighton. I'm not sure. And then I don't know who he is, and that's Harry Potter beside him. So they're put in by my daughter. Thank you very much, Sophie. Well done. Jeff Furt says ECU remap will end the warranty and affect negatively on your insurance tax if you don't report it. Simple. That's pretty accurate. It will only affect the warranty if you actually do something under warranty and they've reason to have a look at your ECU to see the horsepower has been remapped. It will show up as soon as you plug in an ECU checker. It will show up on the screen as a sort of an error because it'll show that it's been messed with. But I wouldn't mess with it until the warranty's out. Recycling is easy, but the pack will probably outlast the vehicle. That is true. Yeah, recycling has been done since the start of electric cars. I remember the very first time that Renault, Eric Basset, who was the managing director at one point of Renault Ireland, stood up in front of us and said about the Renault ZE range was coming. The Zoe was still only a dream at the time. The Kangoo ZE was only a dream. The Fluence ZE was coming out. And one of the very first things said outside was that they were going to set up a recycling plant in France, and they were going to start recycling electric cars, electric batteries. There is also a good few. Now this is 2010 maybe, a long time ago now. So it's like 9 years ago at least that I first heard that from a managing director of Renault, who was only doing electric at the time. Nissan have said the same thing recently as well. There is multiple YouTube channels of guys who are taking old Prius batteries that are where the dead cells are happening in them, and they're putting those dead cells back into use again and making them rechargeable, doing stuff with them and making whole new battery packs out of them and putting them back in. It's wild. The stuff that's happening out there right now for DIY types is absolutely brilliant. You have fun out there doing that sort of stuff. Red Man Tech says, well done Bob, new visitor November, good man. Your electric series and this Sunday service got me following. I have two electric cars, a Tesla and an i3. Change of mindset, but is well worth it. Yep, I absolutely, totally agree with you. i3 short burst range, absolutely brilliant. You can go fairly long distances as well. They're really, really good. If you can get the range extender, now it's discontinued. If you can get the range extender one, it's absolutely brilliant. Great little putter sound from your hinges, a little motorbike engine. Tesla comes under an awful lot of fire because Tesla changed the world of motoring, and I mean changed the world of motoring. How you buy cars, how you service cars, how you update software in cars, all of it changed overnight by Elon Musk like a lunatic. So he gets a lot of stick, but actually Tesla cars are okay. They're a bit weird to drive if you're a driver type, like race car, you know, you've done some road stuff or you've done advanced driving. Teslas are a little weird to drive. They don't feel like normal cars, but they're still great cars. Massive sales spike for them this year. I saw a picture the other night. A fella tweeted a picture at me. He works on the docks in, I can't remember where, and he works on the docks somewhere here in Europe, and the model i3 is just, as far as the eye can see, there's loads of them coming. They are for sale now, and they are coming. Dominic, oh my god, I jumped forward again. Sorry, Dominic Gavin, I was just going to read out your message there. I'm coming back to you though. It's a wild thing to see it all, lads. There's so many questions. Just I'm gonna have to skip. It's turned into such a big thing these days, the Sunday service, and I know loads of you can. By the way, don't forget you can join me actually live. Meet me on the 27th of January right here in Portlaoise in Midway. Are we going for 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock this time? We went 12 o'clock last time and everybody turned up. So we might go 2 o'clock this time and actually stream it live on the 27th. It's 2 weeks' time. Go over to our Facebook page, Sunday Service Community on Facebook. I'm sure Andy McAfee, who was hanging in there somewhere in the comments doing the moderator jobby, will tweet a link to our Sunday Service Community, which is now 500 strong as far as I remember. Anyway, Dominic Gavin, hi Bob, expect after April the Irish car market will be flooded even more with pre-2015 diesel cars from the UK because of charges being brought on in London on cars that are aged some real bargains. Yes and no, that's true. There will be a lot of flooding of more diesel cars coming to Ireland, that's for sure, and it'll be pre-2015 for sure. The big problem is they're just moving their CO2 emissions to us here, and we're stupid enough to buy into it. What I would suggest to you is right now, start doing your research. There's a lot of difference between a car that is EU4, EU5, EU6. There is a lot of difference. The current model cars that are out there, diesel ones, you can stand behind them, you can't smell anything anymore. You go back to EU4 and it emits grey mess out the back of it. It's rotten. Just remember, real bargain comes at a real cost. And the second part of that is, if you go over to Manchester and you're looking for a car off a Manchester dealer, or you go up to North there, he's not going to sell you his best car, because he's going to sell you the worst thing he's got there, just to get rid of you, because he knows you're not going to come back. He's never going to see you again. He's never going to have to deal with you anymore. I have to. Can I give a shout out to someone else as well? Ian McClure, which I think is a PR company here in Ireland. Every Sunday during the Sunday service, he sends me a press release. Every single one of them. Where is he from though? Ian McClure, medianpr.com. He says, government move towards new ban on used UK cars imports welcome. Government what? They're what? Nissan is welcome to come on. The government is considering a UK import car ban. Now, if that shouldn't bring you out on the street with torches above your head, you should really think about that. And I mean lynch mobs if they do that, because that's just an embargo on buying cars in Ireland that are being imported by dealerships. Does anyone understand that the dealerships are the ones who are importing most of the used cars in the market? Anyway, sorry, I'm not going to start a riot now, Ryan, but get close. I'll be watching that very carefully, Ian McClure. Joe Lyons, good to know, as that was recommended to me to get done. I did have my reservations, you're right too. I can't read that name, I don't know what it is. Morning, Bob. It's minus 20 outside my door. So, where are you? Minus 20. Come down here, it's like 11 degrees. So, I would much rather some Irish rain. I own 2 VW diesels and plan to dry them as long as possible. Sound advice. You see, just dry them till they fall apart. Don't worry about it. Just drive it on, keep it serviced. It'll keep on trucking for you. Don't panic. You don't need to change anything. Anyway, it's not cheap to change from an older car to a newer car. It really isn't. The walk from an older car could be 20, 30, 40 grand. It's a lot of money, lads, to get stuck into. So not all of us can afford to buy a brand new car. Some of us rely on the UK imports from pre-2014. Not me. I still have a 2012 car that I bought brand new. No, a 2006 car, 12-year-old car, that I bought brand new here in Ireland with my own good money from Waters Garage in Killartown. They still remember. I still know them all. They've grown up watching this stuff. FM Carve. I studied in Swansea University. Know exactly the kind of rain you're talking about. Yeah, it's rain. It's like this drizzle. It doesn't feel like it's raining. It's like a mist. It falls on you, and then all of a sudden you're wet to the bones. It's just wild. Joe's at new. Certainly doubt anyone in the video group told you to do it. No, don't. That's the ECU remapping. Everyone's going, don't remap the Audi. Don't do it now. Paul McKenna. Are you Paul McKenna, the magician, like? What's your thoughts on hydrogen fuel cell cars? I heard there is a limited supply of lithium in the world, which would be a problem to demand for EV increases. We don't really use a lot of lithium, as was stated earlier on. Hydrogen has a lot of drawbacks. The principal one is it's very hard to make hydrogen. It's actually hard to extract the hydrogen from the water in the first place. You can make hydrogen sitting at home if you want to, right? There's loads of it's just saline water heated with electrical current running through it. The gas that comes off that is hydrogen. It's quite easy to make. It's very hard to make in large quantities. That would be the problem. When you start scaling up into millions of gallons, hydrogen becomes uneconomical. The second problem is hydrogen is not terribly efficient at fueling a car. it's actually less efficient than a petrol engine car. So you actually have to use a lot more hydrogen to go the same distance. And thirdly, then of course, it's just a bloody bomb. You put it into, it's just like petrol. Petrol's a bomb as well. We all drive around a small bomb. Now I'm on a list, of course. Now the Google bot thing has just suddenly put me up top of a list there a second ago. But we are basically all in a petrol engined car with that fuel tank in the back. We do drive around in what could very easily explode. And the same applies for hydrogen, which can also turn into a nuclear bomb very quickly. But besides that, in a petrol station, we have to put in a new tank. There's so much stuff to do, whereas the electrical network is already there. It's already attached. We just need to pipe it off in certain places to create fast chargers, slow chargers, normal chargers, household chargers, whatever it may be, all these different versions. It's already existing. So it's much easier to roll that out now. But at the same time, maybe continue researching into the hydrogen future and whether that's even possible to do hydrogen on a large scale. Cross says the Nissan ENV, I've driven it actually, it's a van, electric van, but it's not very big, it's just an electric van. The Nissan ENV 200 is now available in factory electric camper option, competing with the California. The Transporter is a California based on a fleet sales only electric option, though the battery capacity isn't great. So yeah, it's down to capacity again. It's like anything is possible, but it just depends on how far you want to be able to go on one shot. And I know for myself, from my own camping experience, you want to get into a camper van and you just want to go to the other side of the country. And you don't want to have to stop because they're slow anyway. They weigh a ton. They're hard to drive. They're hard to park. So there's a lot of stuff that goes with it as well. Paul, Cross is answering Paul there, says no issues with lithium supply. Sorry, I didn't mention there isn't any issues with lithium supply. One of the most common metals on Earth's crust. We even have commercially viable volumes in Ireland. Lithium is not the problem. Battery manufacturer making batteries is quite a big deal. There's a Chinese factory after coming on stream recently, but they're making for their own markets. So, and I know I've seen pictures of the thing, and I've had email conversations with a marketing manager person over there in China. It's outside Shenzhen somewhere there. Anyway, they're making lithium, and they're drawing it from their own supplies in China as well, which is kind of weird, or most of it at least. Joe Lyons, built new Jeff going to be sorry, I'm reading through this now. New build Jeff going to be April. It was actually another Audi dealership, not Audi South, where I found them excellent. Sorry, people are having conversations with each other. There's so many of you now that people are having conversations with one another. So as I read through everything, I can see questions, which is kind of cool. If this is back to the remapping question, it seems an Audi dealership told Joe to remap his thing. Don't remap, no matter what they do, because it does spoil your warranty. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to end up in deep trouble from it, but it does mean that if something goes catastrophically wrong with the car and it's a manufacturing problem, if a dealership or if the company themselves can get out of fixing a car under warranty, they will. And if that, even if your trailing arm or something goes on the back and you remap the engine, it might just go, not covering that because you remap the engine that it's gone. So you never know what happens. James Eden, I feel that plug-in hybrids shouldn't be charging at electric cars. I know I had this argument with a guy the other day. Anyway, they are just hold people up that actually need a charge. A PHEV needs a charge as well. I know that may seem like a crazy thing, but you buy a PHEV because once in a while you want to go a bit further and you're not sure you want to go fully electric yet. And I found it like that PHEV I have now, which has about 35 kilometers range on its pure electric version. When you charge it up, you use no fuel. I started the week with 400 kilometer range on just petrol. I still have 300 kilometer range on just petrol, half a tank, because I've just been mostly electric all week. And so there is an element of we all need to charge and we all need to get our electricity. But I find that I'm queuing behind electric Nissan Leafs or i3s or Tesla Model S or something. That's where I'm always charging. So that's my problem straight off, is that as a PHEV user, I end up charging behind electric cars. They're the ones that are holding me up. I'm not holding you up. So there. But anyway, Tudor, I can't remember, I can't read the last time. They still can't kill diesel because it's still used in trucks. That would be a disaster. I don't want to see electric trucks in the wheel in the middle of the dashboard. There is already electric trucks. I've seen a few of them. Volvo had one that was circling around Dublin there for ages, a rigid body, all electric delivery truck, big one. That was going around Dublin. So the electric trucks does exist at the moment. Again, the problem is one shot range, is how far you can go on the one shot. When it comes to the 40-foot, the big articulated trucks that are going up and down the Autobahn all day long, where you're driving along the Autobahn and it's just a wall-to-wall trucks beside you. Those trucks still have a problem, because a lot of those trucks start out in Germany and drive all the way to southern Spain in a couple of days, and they don't stop for anything. There's no way to stop charge. They would have a problem with that sort of thing. So yeah, but that is on there, but that is definitely being researched. The commercial industry would be the first ones to see fully automated driving and electric trucks. I'm 100% sure of this, because that's money. That's where money is spent, real money. And if they can have one less driver in their truck over that same distance, they will do it. Joe Lyon says, I was looking at the S5, but the TFSI 2-litre has 252, 248, and the Remapped brings it to 300, which is 30-ish less than the S5 and 30,000 less. That's true. It's basically the same engine. So if you see a 2-litre TFSI in an Audi A6, it is the same one as in the S5. The engine is not different. They're mapped differently. Often those engines are exactly the same engine. They'll tell you they're different, but they're often the very same. It would be catastrophically expensive for a car company to create an individual engine for individual cars. The only ones that do that would be the RS6, would have its own engine. But that RS6 engine is the same engine as in a pile of other RSs that are out there as well. It's the same engine. So they don't mess about. They don't have different engines, different jobs. So if you see an engine in a car and it's a 2-litre diesel, it's probably the same 2-litre diesels used across the entire fleet. Ergo, everything Volkswagen at the moment that has Seat, Audi, Skoda and Volkswagen 2-litre diesel engine is the same engine. So the horsepower might be different, but actually identical. DJ Crisscross says, hi Bob, do you think VW release an Up Generation 2? I don't think so. I don't know. It seems weird. It's a car that they didn't really put a lot of effort into. It did well on its own, and they didn't seem to know that it was doing well. And it had, which I always thought was a funny one, the Up Swiss. But that was funny. It's a very Up Your Swiss thing. It's a very Irish thing. They had the E-Up. They had all these things that are all going to happen. And then it just seemed to grind to a halt as they forgot about that segment of the market. Skoda Citigo, Seat Me are in the same boat as well. They were great for offsetting their CO2 emissions, but now electric cars are here. That's where the real offset of the CO2 emissions is happening. So I don't know. There isn't a lot of pictures coming out of a new Up or a new planned Up or press releases or anything coming up. So I don't know whether that's actually going to happen or not. Frankie Santana says, I was thinking about getting a 640D Grand Coupe, but I'm afraid it will be worth nothing in 5 years if diesel is going to be phased out. Diesel won't be phased out. It's not going to happen all of a sudden either. There's not going to be a law one evening. It's just like, no more diesels. That's the end of it. This idea that England has and Ireland has, that Ireland's going to try and get no more ICE engines after 2040. Now that includes hybrids, because that's also an ICE engine. So that everything's gone. They're all just thrown out of the bathwater. That's political maneuvers. Political. I'm going to say what gets me a headline. That's what that is. And it's codology, really. You can't get rid of that. You can't do it that way. It have to happen over time. And of course, it's always very much down to the consumer. If you're still consuming diesel and petrol engines in the future, you can absolutely bet your bottom dollar that the car companies will continue to supply them to you. And it makes no difference what the government say or do or what they want to do environmentally. The car companies just pay them. That's all. That's what happens. Make a nice big donation to the Fianna Fáil party, and that'll be the end of that move. It happens very quickly. Cross has answered a question on hydrogen. It can be extracted from seawater as a byproduct of distillation, but it's not commercially viable yet, which is true. That you just can't. Just scaling the thing up, making enough hydrogen to cover the fleet, even the fleet we have. Like, we sell in Ireland 140 something thousand brand new cars a year. Imagine if they were all hydrogen. Where do you get all that hydrogen? You have to get it all. Just scaling it up into that millions of gallons that are required is just a difficult thing to do. Can be done possibly. It's been done, of course, for buses. Here in Europe and the US and Australia, they've done hydrogen buses and stuff. But actually, probably more efficiently is tram buses, which run on electric cables over the top of their head. Much more efficient than having to stop for fuel at all. They don't have to stop, they just keep going. Like the Lewis, they just keep going forever. Eric Rochard, speaking of soft suspension in the Superb, I get a creaking in my suspension a bit and have done my previous ones as well. Bit annoying, but nothing is wrong as such. It's not really, it's just the springs going up and down the side. If the car is really quiet, you can hear the kind of creak in the background. Unless you're on the old leaf springs, which are the very, very old, basically an axle across the centre and then these leaf springs at the back. You find them on modern 4x4s, you find them on modern big off-roaders. The Mitsubishi L200 has it, the Volkswagen Amarok has old leaf springs. If they're creaking, there's a certain kind of creak that means one of those bars is flexing beyond its level and may end up breaking. But other than that, I wouldn't worry about creaking suspension all that much. Andy McAfee has dropped in. I'm in Belfast Express at the moment, so has just popped in. See, he just dropped in. He's driving another bus driver. We're very popular bus drivers. Eric Rochford, watch for pricing on new Superbs. 1.6 has dropped and 2 litre 150 brake horsepower has come down in price, with the 190 now substantially more expensive than the 150. 150 brake horsepower is actually a quieter engine and no noticeable real world difference in power compared to the 190. Absolutely true. Yeah, you wouldn't really notice the difference between 190 and 150 isn't much. In a diesel, it's not much. In a petrol, it would be. In a diesel, it's not much. Because it's all running the same turbo. It's just turbos turned down. That's how the horsepower works, to turn the turbo down a little bit. But the pricing is altering all over the place because the WLTP figures have changed and things are going funny with Skoda as well. They're doing a lot of manoeuvring towards their Karoq and Kodiaq range, so they're taking the pressure off Superb. There's great value in that range. Superb, Octavia, there's good value in that range there as well. Volkswagen Golf is good value as well. The Seat Tarraco is going to take the pressure off the Seat Leon, so the Leon's going to become very good value as well. You'd be surprised how these things move. Don't always go with the herd. The herd is moving towards these soft roaders, these kind of SUV style cars, where actually the good value right now is in the 5-door hatchback, particularly estate. If you can get a nice decent little estate cars, there's some great value in that. Jeff Furt, hold on now, I'll take a slurp of my coffee because it's at least over an hour old. 1507, my God, there's so many of you watching this week, it's incredible. Thank you so much for everybody for subscribing and clicking the like buttons and doing all those things that I do repeatedly, like a broken record, ask you to do quite regularly. See, there's an extra 10 more subscribers just in the last hour. In 1 hour, we are now up to 32,173 subscribers since yesterday. Yesterday, we're at 32,000 exactly yesterday at this time. And now, 24 hours later, just nearly 200 people have subscribed. So, thank you. It's deadly. More, please. Jeff Furt, Joe, the reason it's 30k more than a lot to do with the handling and power box, the clutch, the brake, suspension, wheels, software. You're dead right, Jeff. Listen to Jeff, he speaks the truth. The car will work well for a month and blow up and break up. The difference between the RS and the S models of the Audis is vast when you peel away the exterior and start looking at suspension setups, chassis setup, torque converters. The Quattro system itself, how those things are put together, what metal is used to connect one thing to the other. There's a vast difference. It's like looking at a BMW M5 and thinking because you drive a 5 Series is like it. They're made in a different factory, they're made by different people. The S5 is made in a different factory from the RS5. So just bear in mind that if you try and attain the same horsepower from the same engine, you will get a completely different handling experience, and you may actually do a bit of harm to your car. It may not be able to, the clutch and the gearbox may not be able to handle that level of torque that comes out of it. Paul O'Connor have a comment and a question. I have to post it in 2 parts. This could be good. Right, go, show me. I know, sorry. While we're waiting for Paul to post his question here, Mark Howlett Prescott says, good afternoon, Bob. I've just been to Pembroke Dock and back to Swindon cost me £4.50 in my ENV 200. Would have cost me £45 in diesel. Keep up the excellent reviews. Now, you see there, look, electric cars, lads. Once you get under the hood, and I'm a convert now. Nissan Leaf next week. I know I have an Audi Q8 next week as well, but that's a diesel. But I have a Nissan Leaf next week. I'm looking forward to Hyundai Kona. I'm looking forward to. Once you go down the electric route, you start to realise that it's a lot easier than you think it is. And when I point up myself, if you like Excel, an Excel spreadsheet, if you get excited by looking at an Excel spreadsheet and trying to work out the sums and calculations, you're going to absolutely adore electric cars, because that's what it's like. And I kind of sit down and go, oh look, I could get 1 more kilometre if I turned off the heater or something. It's that moment where you start to go, God, I'd love to do this much further. It's like driving classic cars or something. It's very good. So there's a testimony right there. Mark Howlett says he spent £4.50 in his ENV 200 to go from Pembroke Dock to Swindon, when it would have cost him £45 in diesel. Jay Berger says, thanks for a bit of advice on changing diesel cars. Good man. Robbie Milton, hey Bob, would you consider buying a 2014 diesel at all now, or a petrol PHEV EV only? Currently in a 10 VRS Octavia with 134,000 miles and thinking about a change. What's your mileage, Robbie? So I'd be very concerned about pushing someone towards a PHE or pushing someone out of diesel if their mileage per year is 50, 60, 70,000 miles per year. You know, once you get up into that sort of range, still only diesel can do that, unless you want to permanently be looking for electric charge points. Like that Mitsubishi Outlander only works very efficiently if you're persistently plugging it in every time you get home. It's not plugged in now, I forgot. But anyway, you have to plug it in the whole time. So, but now I would definitely at the moment be looking at something like a Hyundai Kona, the long-range Nissan Leaf, which isn't out yet, but it's definitely on the way. There's a couple of other cars that are on the way now. Kia have their Niro EV. Again, the range thing is the best part. It really clicks in your brain. You kind of go 400 kilometers. 450 kilometers is a real amount of miles that I can do. Now, you are going to have to compromise stuff to do that, depending on what mileage you do right now. So, but if I was you at the moment, I know you might be thinking about changing. I would think about holding on to what you have for another 6 months and just see where you go with that. And at the end of 6 months, really put a lot of thought in it. I'd just be nervous of pushing you into a financial agreement that gets you over for the next 3 years into something else, and then you regret that because you're stuck with that car for 3 years, and then you have to do it. But I would certainly, at the moment, I would go EV, PHEV, petrol, diesel, in that order. There's your order now. Right now, if you're thinking about changing any car to any other car, EV should be your first stop. CD Models, come on. Hi Bob, expected MPG for an IS300H. If MPG kilometers per litre or whatever you want to do, if I've been getting less than 40 miles to the gallon from any car, I'd be very disappointed these days with the efficiency we have. The problem is the size of the fuel tank. They often reduce the size of the fuel tank these days to put in something beside it and move it around to make, instead of 45 litres, it's 40 litres or whatever. But like if I'm getting less than 40 miles to the gallon, which is about 5 litres per 100 kilometres or less, somewhere around there, if I'm getting anything like that, even from a petrol car, I get really annoyed straight away, because every car can do it. They just choose not to. They cut something else to put it somewhere else. There's plenty of other cars in the market besides Lexus IS300H, by the way, but it's a nice car, mind you. The VRS is great. This is from Robbie again. VRS is great, but I'm afraid that some pricey things are going to start breaking. Would love your opinion. Thanks, Robbie. It's a great car, definitely. Skoda VRS, lovely, lovely car. It looks great. In a state, it looks like a great car as well. Just look at EV. Really do your research, do your homework. Have a look at Hyundai Kona. Have a look at Nissan Leaf. Have a look, if you're not confident going all the way EV, have a look at the Outlander PHEV. Lovely car. You get the benefits of having some part-time, full-time electric, part-time petrol. You're on the right side of information. You're on a petrol electric car, but you're not taking the whole leap towards electric. So PHEVs aren't going to get any further in electric. 35-40 kilometers is about the limit of what them things are able to do anyway. Jeff Furch, yeah, keeping it as a S5. Sorry, he's answering someone else's question. Getting involved in somebody else's conversation here. But I like to be a conduit of information, a conduit of stuff to come through me. It usually works that way. Thoughts on a mini rear lights being a Union Jack? Who cares, really? It's just a Union Jack on the back of a car. Although I have to say, even in America, they don't do lights on a car with a star-spangled banner on it. I know Americans put a big flag on the side of their car, but they often don't put them into the bloody lights. I don't know why Mini did it. It seems like a confusing thing to do for a German company to put a Union Jack into the taillight of their car. And I know it's all made in England, but realistically, I mean, Jaguar Land Rover just cut 4,500 jobs there in the UK. Solihull hit again. Birmingham hit again. Who else is? Ford has cut some jobs as well. Ford Europe has cut back on a massive amount of jobs. You know, it's just, why confuse and muddy the water with junior? Anyway, it's not coming out in Ireland. They'll have ordinary. The Mini over here has ordinary lights, but the press car had taillights with a Union Jack, which I think if I drove that into Portlaoise, I reckon it would be broke inside about 60 seconds. So I didn't take it as a press car. I just want the attention. Thanks all the same. Red Man Tech. Not that I have any problem with the Union Jack. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. It's just a flag to me. No more than I care whether the tricolour flies or whatever's happening. But it's hijacked. It means something to Great Britain and UK and England. So then people will be annoyed by it. Interest is growing very quickly. We have 2019. I don't know what that was. It will be a massive year for EV. It will. Actually, 2020 be a bigger year for EV than 2019. And I say that because I know that there is a rash of electric cars coming from all kinds of manufacturers out there right now that won't make it into Ireland for this year. They will start to get released all over, like Rimtech and all these other car companies that are coming on stream that are not car companies, but Tesla has shone a light on the car industry and it made it available to them. Apple will be bringing out a car at some point as well. Google will probably bring out a car, or they will invest a shed load of cash to make a car. If Jeff Bezos' wife decides in the middle of a divorce that she'd like to invest half of her 130 billion or so into something, she could easily make a car company work in a blink of an eye. So there's so much money out there now looking for a home. That would be a good time to start an electric car company. But anyway, here in the US, my Honda dealer offered to remap my 2018 Accord 2-litre ECU for $600. The remap adds horsepower but forces you to have to use premium fuel. If a dealer's offering you a remap to do it actually there and then, and you can get written signatures to say it won't invalidate your warranty, you'd have no problem, because that's a remap that's coming from Honda. Honda has authorised that remap, so you'd only be okay. But don't bring it to Billy McGash down the road there and get him to plug in a yoke and put an extra 50 horsepower and then go back to the dealership and go, something wrong with my car. If supply can keep up, that is obviously the biggest problem at the moment, is demand and supply. We are demanding a lot of batteries. Making the batteries is very expensive. It takes a while. So it's a matter of getting as much stuff out as they possibly can. Powell has joined us and has asked the most random question. Of course, the Sunday service is open for any questions that anyone wants to ask. You can ask anything from mental health to cars to chairs to what aftershave I wear. I don't know. Whatever you want to ask. It's always open, wide open. But this question is a good one. Hi Bob, what is a traditional Irish meal? Generally speaking, if you're coming to Ireland, most people would recommend that you have a bacon, cabbage and potato. So that's a piece of ham been boiled in salty water for a good period of time till the meat becomes very tender. Then you have boiled potatoes, mashed usually, and some chopped up cabbage that has been boiled as well. A bit of gravy over the top, or a bit of white sauce on the side. That would be a traditional sort of Irish meal. But realistically, when you go to Dublin, you go to Cork, you go to Galway, the variety of food that is not Irish that's there, there's Lebanese, there's Turkish, there's African food, there's African restaurants springing up all over the place, there's Thai, there's Chinese. All of those foods exist here, coexist here with our own kind of. It's actually harder to find an Irish restaurant. You'd find carveries, but that's not Irish restaurants, just boiled up stuff sitting in its own fats for ages. I would prefer a chickpea curry myself, to be honest with you. So I'm not a big curry person though. I mean, I wouldn't choose it. Turkey and ham is also a traditional thing here. Cross says Nissan and Tesla are the only two without supply issues. Hyundai, Kia have had max 55,000 EVs this year due to supply. So supply of parts, generally parts, you know, the most amount of money tends to shore up all the holes very quickly. So if there's supply of one particular product, it's a bit like saying that car companies make their own cars, when actually Continental probably makes the majority of things under the bonnet of the car, mixed with Bosch, mixed with Valeo. They're all in there. You know, they all supply stuff to all the car companies, which is why the emissions cheat was created by Bosch, the company Bosch. But that also extended out other cars out there as well, Bosch in there too. The recall of cars that are going on fire come from a Mexican company that made one particular part for all the car companies. So it's the problem is electric cars are the same. They're suffering from the same problems in that supply of parts is hampered because everybody wants to make electric cars tomorrow. Sorry, drink of water there. We are an hour and 20 minutes into this already. How did that even happen? And the sun is starting to come out. Would you believe there's blue sky outside the door now? The clouds are moving off. And I'm answering questions from an hour ago. I'm sorry, there's so many questions. It's amazing. Every time I say something, I generate another question, which is pretty cool. But brilliant to have you all here. Make sure you click the like button, the subscribe button. If you're first time here, you've never seen this before, this happens almost every Sunday when we're not actually meeting up as live, which we will be on the 27th of this month. If you want to come along, you're more than welcome. Midway in Portlaoise, it is in your Google map. If you type Midway Portlaoise, it will take you straight to the car park there. There is an electric charge point, there is a fast, there is a slow charge there. There is a restaurant, there is a hotel, there is a petrol station just down the road from it. We try to cater for everything to fit in the middle of it, so it'd be great to have you there. If you want to come along on that, that'd be brilliant. If you can support this channel in some way, there are links down below to my PayPal, Patreon, or you can use the Super Chat right here on YouTube. Whichever one suits you, be lovely. This channel is unfunded. I don't get money from car companies, as you may have noticed by the way the reviews go when I don't like something and I get to say I don't like that, it's crap, which is really good. But that means that I don't get any money from car companies whatsoever to run this channel, and I kind of like it that way. So it's entirely supported by you and by the ads here on YouTube, which there is very few ads on YouTube these days because most people block the ads with ad blockers. Don't tell them I said that. You can block ads though, but don't block the ads. I might green light my channel. It'd be nice to whitelist my channel. It'd be nice. That'd be good. Barry Whelan, I need a large 7-seater. I own a 2015 Kia Sorento and really like it. Plenty of power and loads of comfort, but at the moment there is no EV or hybrid 7-seater that I can afford to buy. They're all a bit expensive. The problem as well with EVs is they are expensive by their very nature. Even that PHEV Outlander outside the door is $4,000 more expensive than its equivalent 2.2 litre diesel alternative. The exact same car, same spec, is $4,000 cheaper in diesel. So there is a problem. There is a bit of a disconnect in the prices, and it's down to the price of battery manufacturer making electric cars, making them lighter, the tech, the research. It's all those problems, and there isn't something to replace what you've got either, Barry, at the moment in a decent 7-seat electric car. Wait for 2020. Audi E-Tron will set the tone. People are waiting to see whether that will actually sell for Audi. And I know that'll be outside your price range. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a cheap car. But if it sells, that means there is a market for 7-seat, 5-seat, 7-seat, big off-road electric cars. So it's a market that will happen. Hold on to your Sorrento's a great car, a big car. Hold on to it. It's going to be hard to replace that one actually. Lots of second-hand options UK. Yes, Paul O'Connor had a big long comment question, but too big to post. But the crux is, here we go. We're ready. Okay, he's trying to split up the question into pieces because for some reason YouTube stop you writing an essay on the screen. If you want, you can always email me the questions, bobflav@thenextgear.com, and I answer millions of emails these days. It used to be a few a week, but now it's bloody hundreds. Anyway, because of the publicity diesel is getting, don't know whether I go for Tesla or hybrid, or what's the best superb size car saloon estate that will do 50,000 kilometers a year. None of them. Yes, you can do 50,000 kilometers a year in an electric car. Yes, it is totally possible. Yes, you will always be charging that car every night at home or every night at work or whatever. You will be charging it every. It's not like diesel where you put, 50 quid's worth of diesel in, and then a week later you put 50 quid more in. It's not going to be like that with electric car. You will have to remember to charge the thing quite regularly. You will have to plan certain journeys. Now, superb size is that Outlander PHEV outside the door. That's the biggest electric car, and that's a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle that you can get at the moment, apart from the Jaguar I-Pace, which I think that's only a 5-seat car. It's not very big. It looks big, but it's not very big. Nissan Leaf is a 5-door hatch. i3 is probably the smallest one. A lot would actually probably get the most use from it. There just isn't something that what you're looking for. Mondeo is a hybrid as well. Not a very good one, but it's a hybrid. You're going to have to go PHEV, Paul, for get something that size. 50,000 kilometers a year, you're going to pay through the nose for PHEV because you're going to definitely run on the petrol engine at some point of that. Your only option is to change the size of the car you've got, or, come down to Nissan Leaf or Hyundai Kona or the Kia Niro EV. They're the ones with the longest range. Or you're going to have to go hybrid and start putting your hand in your pocket a lot for petrol. Tesla and Lexus 7-seaters are way out of my league. Yes, they are. The Model X in Ireland is that 5 or 7? No, that's 7. So it's 3 in the middle, 2 in the back, 2 in the front. So that's 7-seaters. But is that £250,000 250,000 or something for that Model X? Ridiculous money. Meh. T5 Jerry says, great sermon as always, Father Bob. No problem at all. Anytime, Jerry. Drop in every Sunday. Say your prayers on the way home. All hail the V8s. Hello, greetings from Canada. Oh God, we're getting a few people in here from other countries. Watch them old foreigners to be in here stealing all our fuel. Only kidding, Louise. Brian Coyle, hi Bob. I know this is a car channel. Yeah, but you can answer. It doesn't really matter. But you see, solid fuel stoves having a limited life, as I'm thinking of changing the fireplace. I'm wondering about an electric option. Now, that's a very, very good question, because I've actually been, in the course of researching electric cars and electric fuel, it has taken me down the route of researching all the other stuff that goes with being electric or going that route, and renewable resources and all that sort of thing. Right, so at the moment, a wood-fired stove, or a multi-fuel stove they're also called, would be probably a very good option, because you can get wood quite cheaply and it's able to be renewed. Now, the big problem with that is that it emits very high CO2. So if we all went back that direction of having a wood-fired stove in our house, we'd all end up in the smog again that we used to have from the 70s and 80s in Dublin, say. That's an issue in itself, but they are very efficient these days. You can get compressed little nuggets of wood, which are pure wood, but they've been compressed so tightly that they behave like coal, so they burn for a long time. Very low burn output, very high heat output, so they glow like the way coal used to be. So that's a good option, as solid fuel goes. Electrically, that's a problem. We have solar panels. Some of them are very, very low yield. You have to be in direct sunlight, and then they're useless to you at night time unless you're storing that energy. So at night time, if you can charge a big battery outside, look up Tesla Powerwall, for instance, a very expensive option, but what I think the future will be. So a solar panel is charging a battery unit outside that run in the house 24 hours a day. The battery unit's actually running the house, and it's being charged by electric. That's a really good option, but really expensive. Would take a very, very long time to yield the investment level back out of that into your house. So to pay for itself over a number of years, you're talking 30 years to see the return out of that. Whereas a solid fuel stove running on wood fire, you'll see it instantly. So you'll immediately, if you hook that up to your radiators as well through a boiler system, you're going to get a back boiler. You're going to get a real good return from that at very low output cost. You're talking about, even if, like my house here is fully equipped for gas, natural gas, what I run here, even my fireplace, it was natural gas, everything is natural gas, a very clean product. It's a product I don't have to see, I don't have to interact with, I don't have to clean it, I don't do anything with it, it's just there. That's a really good option, but again, a level of investment. It means I'm also stuck to one fuel. I don't have another way of heating the radiators or the hot water without turning on the gas boiler. So there's the problem with that, is when you go down the route of just one fuel, there's no other options. So what I've noticed a few of my neighbours doing, and what I was thinking about doing as well, was putting in a solid fuel wood burning stove in the sitting room that would heat the water along with it, and just put a steel chimney outside. I don't have a chimney. I mean a proper one, but bricked up one. So there's a lot of options around, but at the moment the best option for a fireplace would be to go something wood burning, just because it's a renewable resource. You're burning something that you can just grow again if you really want to. One single tree could fuel your house for the whole of the winter without a shadow of doubt, especially mild winters we're getting now. Cross answering another question there. Richard Greenwood, most 2014 Ford EVs are grand. Pre-2013 you need to know what you are buying. Mark 1 Leaf had issues, for example, but the post 132 Mark 1.5 was bulletproof. Here's Philip Nolan. Philip Nolan is another motoring journalist as well. Now, Philip Nolan should be tuned in here. Should be doing something better with his time. But anyway, he's here and he's answering questions. He's also a very experienced motoring and travel journalist. If you want to know the best place in the entire of Europe to have a nice little meal out, ask Philip Nolan. He knows everything. Don't forget the Kia e-Niro, great range in that, over 400 kilometers claimed. On test drive loop in south of France, I covered 70 kilometers but lost only 50 kilometers of range. You see, they're all at it. Supply is the problem with Kia and Hyundai, of course, but it's definitely a good alternative to Nissan for sure. It's great to see these big long ranges coming in. It also means that, of course, Kia and Hyundai have bottomless pits of money out there as well, which is always good. Redman Tech says emissions fall into two brackets: environmental and health harming. We need to remove old diesels from city centres. The problem with diesel NOx is that it builds up in corners, so it's actually a heavy gas, so it falls to the ground and it's stirred up by passing cars and is blown to one side or the other road. In a city environment where there's not as much wind or breezes, it sits on the footpath, so it actually sits there hanging in the air and you walk through it, and it's very health harming. We're talking about lung cancers, mouth cancers, throat cancers. It is very health harming. It's very bad for the environment, particularly when people who live in cities go running or go cycling. They're driving and cycling through this haze of stuff, and it's all coming because we have too many diesels on the road. If we had less diesels, we'd have less of this gas, which would cause less problems. If you live in the countryside or you're out away from that kind of built up environment, it doesn't happen half as much. But it's definitely environmental is CO2, which goes up. CO2 is lighter than air. NOx is heavier than air, and it falls to the ground, and so that's why it's dangerous, because it hangs around. Your thoughts, says Peter Dolan, on electronic components in modern cars. God, it's more electronics now. You sit in the press office, press release thing, one of those press days where they come along and tell you all about the new car, and one of the first things to talk about is the infotainment system. It's like, our connectivity systems are second to none in this world. It's one of the first things to talk about. You kind of go, yeah, well, how does it drive? Does it handle nice? Does it good brakes? How big are the suspension things? What's the blocks? You ask real technical questions. You go, I'll just defer you to my engineer friend over here, because they don't know. Because all they know about is Apple CarPlay or whatever, Anyway, your thoughts on electronic components in modern cars. Electronic handbrake. Recently got a fault warning for electronic handbrake in my Golf. Manufacturers solving problems that never existed. They are creating problems that never existed before, because we're moving towards that direction. There was a time where you pulled the old ratchet in the middle and the handbrake came all the way up to the roof because the cable was too long, too short, wasn't fitted properly. Old handbrakes caused as much problems as modern handbrakes do, probably more in fairness. Older handbrakes got good in around 2003 to 2010, and then the electronic handbrake came in and messed it all up again. But generally speaking, in that period we had these proper handbrakes that came on really big steel ratchets. They were quite hard to do any harm to. They were really easy to change the cable on, and very little ever went wrong with them. Before that, we had like a brake cable. Did you ever see the inside of a brake cable, bicycle brake cable? It has a little knob on one and a little knob on the other, and the knob connects to the other knob, and you pull that, you stretch the cable, and you close the clamp on the brakes at the back, and that's what held you. So all you do is pull a thing and pull the cable and just close the big clamp. That was unreliable because that cable stretched, and as it stretched and as the brakes wear out, you had to pull the handbrake further and further and further till eventually it wasn't holding you. Eventually you pull the handbrake and the car would just roll away. So that was a problem as well. But yeah, I do agree, Peter, electronic stuff in cars, there's a lot of electronics in cars these days, and a lot of it can get broken very easily. You look at some of those electronic dashes, and I know Citroen Ireland had a major problem because I got multiple emails from people who bought C4 Picassos, which has the full electronic dashboard, right across the dashboard behind the steering wheel and the touch screens that are over there for operating everything else in the car, even the heating. All just went out, driving along the motorway. Boom, just turn off. The car keeps going, no problem, but you've no idea what speed you're doing. You can't see your rev counter, you can't see the radio, you can't turn anything on or off. And they got new dashboards out and still couldn't solve it. So when electric problems start, they start. Now I know that's Citroen and you're all going, oh, well, Citroen and electrical problems, but it could happen to anybody. They're all made by Valeo, or they're all made by Continental, or they're all made by Bosch. So, it could happen to any car company. i3 tyres, at least not for the non-S, have come down in price a lot. 110 quid a corner for OEM Bridgestones. There's good advice there. Shop around for your tyres for sure. Continental, Bridgestone, Michelin, they're all good, solid brands. Those tyres tend to be a little bit more expensive because they've done all the research. What happens is other tyre companies come along and they take pictures and they get the tread wear and tread patterns, and then they just make the tyre and release it cheaper. They don't do the research on it. Tyres are vitally important. They're the only contact you have with the road. If they wear out or they burst when you're driving, you will definitely know all about it. Raymond Grace, Bob, I really love the Renault Scenic new model. I love the look of it. It's a great looking car. But they don't seem to be selling well. Any comments? Other than Renault are putting a massive emphasis on the Megane, and on the Zoe, and on their electric stuff. I wouldn't suggest there's any problems with it, but that's not a model of car that people are interested in. Everybody wants the SUV style. They all want the Capture, new one of that coming, or the Koleos is another one, which I think is pretty ugly, if I'm honest. I just can't wrap my head around what it is. It just doesn't look very well. And then there's that one in the middle that I can't remember the name of. It's a bigger version of it. It's a lovely car actually to drive. So there's a few options. That's where Renault are putting all their money. They're just not putting it in the Scenic. Even though I actually like the Scenic, I think it's probably one of the nicest cars that they make to drive and to look at. Particularly look at. It's a gorgeous looking thing. The Saint SD1, welcome to the show. Petroleum products will still play a part in the automotive life, sure, because oil is in everything. Oil makes all the plastics and everything. We are switching to electric powertrain, but it would be impractical for many to have BEVs, so hybrid units will surpass diesel or petrol. Yes and no. Depends on the market. Look, no one really knows where the market's going to land by 2020. We have ideas, we have suggestions. I would be an electric convert. A lot of my compatriots would not be an electric convert. My colleagues, my other people who work in motor journalism in general would still be massively petrol heads. I think petrol head is a great way to be. I'm still a petrol head. I love car racing, fast cars, V8s, massive diesel, huge torque, wheel spin. It's all great fun. But to continue doing that into the foreseeable future, we need to find another way to fuel the car on a daily basis. The workhorse, the car that drives up and down the N7 every day, doing 20,000 kilometres every 6 months because they live in Dublin, they work in Laois. That guy needs a car to get to work every single day. And it's probably not a Golf GTI, unless you have tons of money. I will get through all these questions. If it kills me, I will get there sooner or later, and I will catch up on everybody who's asked me questions. And people are giving me money and things as well. I'll come to all you guys as well. Sorry, I missed some of that. I missed some donations there, and there's donations coming in everywhere. So if you can donate, it'd be brilliant. It'd be fantastic to keep this little show on the road as much as I possibly can. And of course, you can meet us as well. Don't forget, you can meet us on the 27th of this month here in Portlaoise in Midway. Richard Greenwood, for those of us who have to buy a 5 to 10 year old car, are EVs going to be a sensible, reliable buy, or are we going to be stuck with worn out, knackered batteries? Diesel for me for now. Batteries are cheaper to fix than a bad diesel engine. I can guarantee you that for sure. If there's something wrong with a battery, you're going to fix that cheaper. Then you're probably going to dispose. If a diesel engine has gone bad, gone bad in other words, that is blown blue or black or grey smoke out of the back of it, that can end up being catastrophically expensive to fix, sometimes far more than the car is worth. An electric battery, the modern run of batteries are getting to the point now where we can replace single cells in a battery. So you can actually hook up a battery tester. Well, it's not a battery tester, but it's a car tester that'll tell you how many cells are inefficient in the car and which ones they are, which ones can be removed and things. So that's all coming, if not already here. So in 5 to 10 years time, you're going to be able to get some great electric car buys, but the range will probably be different. That's the difference right now, is we're running now about range. Jay Bergen, just applied to join your Facebook group. Good man. I'm sure Andy will look after you there, or I will as soon as I'm finished here. Keep up the good work. By the way, campsite hookups probably won't have the power to charge up. I know, but even on a little trickle charge, like a 3-pin plug charge type would do, an overnight charge. Because camper vans, once they're actually hooked up, once you're parked and unpacked, you don't really move them all that much after that. So you drive down the country, you plug in, and then you don't move again for the weekend. So if it took 12 or 15 hours to charge back up again, it wouldn't really matter because you're not going anywhere. Can we send a comment question by email? Yeah, of course. bobflav@thenextgear.com. I've, for the last 10 years, nearly 10 years, 2010 I started this channel, so 2020 is a big year. So for nearly the last 10 years, I have answered multiple thousands of questions by email. Many hundreds of thousands of questions by comments here on YouTube, and now with the Sunday service last couple of years, probably hundreds, thousands, if not millions, by just answering by talking off the top of my head like I do right now. I don't rehearse this. There's no rehearsal. This is actually live. This is happening right now, even though in some respects in my head it feels a bit like a dream. I often don't have a clutch or a gearbox when I answer questions. Some people get it. They're very direct answer. But generally, don't worry if you don't get an answer back within a week of my email. It's not because I've forgotten you. It's just because there's so many bloody questions. But if you can support the channel, it'd be brilliant. I mean, if you can actually donate money to the channel, it'd be absolutely brilliant. PayPal, Patreon, they're both links down below. If you want to go to PayPal, bobflav@thenextgear.com is my email address there. You can find me and donate money that way. Or here, use a super chat. If you want to use that, just click the little $ beside the comments. You can leave a message that way as well. Or Patreon, which is trickle feed. £2 a month, 10 quid a month, whatever it is you want to do, it's entirely up to you. Or do nothing, but at least subscribe. I never ask people, if you can't afford it, you don't think you can continue, don't do it. You don't have to, it's fine. Just hit the subscribe button. That is completely free, and the reason it's free is because somebody pays somewhere, sometimes me. Paddy Downey, looking at Irish Tesla prices doesn't make them playthings for wealthy early adopters. Yeah, it does kind of. 110,000 to 185,000 across the Model X and Model X range. They are ridiculously priced, but it's actually the real price of these things. That's how much it costs to get these cars on the road. Now, Tesla tell you they don't give discounts. They don't have any brand ambassadors. They don't have, if an employee of Tesla want to buy a Tesla, they have to buy it at that price as well. So there's no discounts whatsoever. So what you're looking at is actually more realistic prices than what Nissan can put out in their car, even though their Leaf is like 40 grand as well. The Model S has just had a substantial, I missed that there. Oh my God, we have so many questions. You know when it scrolls forward, I don't know if any of you ever do a live stream on their own channels and it just scrolls forward, you go, oh my God, there's like 2 million questions to go. But I'm getting there, it's okay. I'll catch up on you all eventually. Because what happens is after a while everybody stops asking because they've all asked the question, which is really good in the end of it. i3 tires, I've seen that one before, so we're good there, we're catching up. The Model S has just had a substantial price bump and they are discontinued to the smaller battery this week. Model will be here in 0 to 50k range. Alright, okay. Model 3, Model 3, yeah. Sorry, Model 3, not i3. I still drive a 2002 Sunfire here in Canada, 14C, and still starts. Keep it until it dies. That's the best. 14 degrees below right there. He's driving an old Sunfire. Good car, actually. I drove one of them many years ago. I drove one of them. Really nice. Nice for a Canadian car. Jeff Firth, across the price bump is due to the ending of the US tax credit on EV cars. Yeah, that's true. Model S. Hi, Bob. Did you say you drive a 2006 from new? Out of curiosity, what make model is that? A Seat Leon 1.6. I was called a Sport Up in Ireland. Don't know what it was called elsewhere. 17-inch alloys, 5-speed box, 1.6 litre petrol, 102 brake horsepower, 102 I think brake horsepower. Has caused zero problems other than the air conditioning stopped working, but that was actually an Audi part. It was one of the first of the latest version of the Seat Leon, so it came out actually just the tail end of 2005. I ordered it January 2006, got it March I think 2006, and I've held it ever since. I was going to trade it in multiple occasions, never did it because I love the look of it, not just the look, but I love It's just something about that car. My two kids were nearly born in that car. I got to drive like a maniac through Portlaoise when my first daughter, or second daughter, was being born. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and of course got to do that dad thing of just about to be born, and of course we're in the car like gone like a shot up the road. I got to drive like an ambulance. And it's that car. Both my kids were nearly born in that car. It's been one of those cars. It's 12 years old. It's the first new car I ever bought. It'll probably be the last new car I ever buy as well, in that respect, by my own way, or about cars. So I love it, and it's still a great little car, and works every day for the house. It still works, still goes out, starts, and away she goes. Andy McAfee, good man, has put up a link to the Sunday service. Man, I'm 45 minutes behind. I'm catching up on your questions. I'm sorry, I am catching up. I will stay here until all the questions are answered. That's probably the best way out of this. Even though I allot lovely 2 hours of my Sunday to this, I will stay until all the questions are done. Have you ever driven a 2010 Lexus RX 450h? If so, what do you think? That's an old car. It's a 9-year-old car. I would have my batteries checked on that car before I'd go anywhere with it. Lexus are reliable. They don't put much electronics in them, so they will be very reliable. It should keep on going. You're going to get a petrol engine in it probably. It's the hybrid. Yeah, of course you're going to get a petrol engine. It's going to be very reliable. But when it goes wrong, it's going to be expensive. That's the best warning I can give you. Do your research, make sure you know what you're buying. But they're a nice car to drive. Very relaxed. This government is doing nothing to promote electrical vehicles. No infrastructure, no VRT concession. As such, they stand to lose so much. Greed, one of the 7 deadly sins. Yes and no, to some degree. There's a lot of protectionism going on. The SIMI and car companies here see a big market in diesel and petrol cars still. PHEV. You've got no one in the government who has a clue, even the smallest idea of the future of cars. They haven't a notion, and they never ask anyone for help either. They only ever talk to their own little cabal of people up there in Leinster House, and the people who advise them are people who deal with insurance and tax and legislation, and they're not car people. They have no cutting edge knowledge of what's happening in the greater environment of car ownership and how the general public is moving in a direction, and they're going to just get left behind. So unfortunately, it's not just greed, it's just pure stupidity on the behalf of our government, our people in charge, our Minister for Transport, and our Taoiseach, who are all just asleep at the wheel, just gathering up money because they know they're going to be voted out in the next election. But who do you vote in? Fianna Fáil. For what? Because they'll just drag Fine Gael with them anyway. It's all they want. Like, it's stupid. Nobody stand up for them, and nobody stand up for the car owners out there, the people out there, not just enthusiasts like maybe on this channel, or people who are enthusiastic about cars, but just people who every day are nearly broke because they must have a car to complete their journey every single day. They must have it, so it's absorbing half their wages every week or every month or whatever. Insurance is just runaway catastrophic disaster which the government refused point blank to deal with. James, there is a €5,000 grant, a 5,000 VRT discount, and e-cars are being given a budget to install new infrastructure this year. That is true, there is that, but those grants make the price of the car unrealistic. I would suggest that the grants are probably a bad way of enticing it in. Like if you have a Nissan Leaf at 40 grand, and that's all the grants off it, 35 grand, all the grants off it, and then you have a Nissan Pulsar, which is basically the same car when you think about it, run on petrol, and that's 25 grand. There's 10 grand of a difference in everything to do with those cars, and they're both about the same size. So not everybody has that money to stump up and PCPs and clean finance history and stuff. So not everybody can make the change to electric cars. We have to be aware of that. That certainly I can't afford to buy an electric car tomorrow. I can't. And I probably won't get a financial agreement out of anybody because they're going to look into a history and it's going to be sketchy because I'm a bloody YouTuber. How do you explain to someone I'm a YouTuber? Anyway, so, people just can't stump up the difference between where they are now and getting into an electric car. So even with all the grants and all, it's meaningless to someone who can only afford a 2003, I don't know, Avenzas or something. Annie McAfee, in 2011 I ordered a new Octavia VRS. At the time there was new encryption on the OBDI port, so remapping had to be cutting of security bolts, removing ECU, breaking seal and soldering onto it. Not gas. How did you just like that? No, you're not allowed to do that anymore. That's it. Not going to let you do it. It's your car, like you bought it. You should be able to do anything. James, let's give a tax break to people that can pay 110,000 for a Tesla. No, that's why you're seeing so many Teslas on the road, lads. The same tax break applies to Tesla. And as I stated, there was a video a few weeks back when I did the budget here in Ireland. If you look through that, I told you at the time that if you could write off the tax in your company, you could basically have a free car now. Just contact your accountant. If you own your own business right now today, you could basically have a free electric car. And if you're a taxi driver in Ireland, you could have a free electric car tomorrow as well. So just bear that in mind. There should be 100% grant for electric cars plus no road tax. Well, what would happen then? Everybody would have an electric car and the ESB would go out of business in the morning because they couldn't afford to charge all electric cars for free. We'd have to get them all, they'll all be charged on the road. We'd never get near a charge station if all the cars were electric in the morning. Continuing on, Andy McAfee says, I contacted Scotty UK and got them to say in writing that it wouldn't affect my warranty, 5-year unlimited mileage I paid for. I was shocked they did so. I was shocked to say that as well. It's Remap a car. The ST1, the cars will be using electric powertrains. However, it is the power source that will change according to tech advances and practicality. Pure petroleum ICE cars will end and hybrids will take over. We'll see. I'm not sure anyone actually knows the answer to that question, and I'd remain unconvinced until 5 years from now when it can all be proven. Get the challenge pack option, Andy. It's a blast. Bob, have you driven a 2010 Lexus RS450? So your thoughts? Did you just ask me that a minute ago, or am I having a flashback? Was that a moment in the Matrix where the Matrix just went wrong on me there? Sure, I answered that question a second ago. Reference electric commercials. The world uses to be full electric milk floats. It was, but they were desperately slow. Have you ever driven a milk float? Did you ever watch the Father Ted one with the Pat, whatever his name is, in it? And they're trying to go down the road and avoid the boxes, and they're doing like 2 miles an hour. That was a milk float. Bring them back and start Tesco delivery and other small radius applications. Tesco actually have announced that they're putting all their delivery vans are going to be electric. Unpost have also announced they're going to be putting more LDV electric vans on the road. So all of these companies are making big moves towards electric very quickly. It will happen. Particularly Unpost, who are going LDV, which is a Chinese company, and I've driven the LDV electric, and it's actually quite good. It's really fast. Forget Tesla. Forget it. A van weighs nothing when it's empty. The fun I had now, I won't. Legally, I was off road when I drifted an electric van. Lee Mycroft, €5,000 is enough. Basically, zero VRT on cars up to 35,700. After that, 5k discount is still useful. Correct. Anthony Foley, in York, they use electric buses for their park and ride service. Yep. We had an electric thing up here as well in Dublin. I had a little quick kind of a spin in it. Automated electric taxi thing, which they had in a sort of a restricted area. A lot of crap, to be honest with you. It was cool to look at. Nice to see this cool tech, but never will it happen. As long as I live, I don't think I'll ever see that sort of thing. It's so slow. It's so ridiculous to be sitting there with 6 people in the car, but you're looking around going, who are any of these people? Like, stupid. Why don't you just have a bus? Buses make so much more sense than these little kind of personal, small 5 and 6 seater vehicles. It doesn't make any sense at all. Big buses are the best way to go. Move the most amount of people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, using an electric tram system above your head. It's been around for decades, hundreds of years. The electric tram things. Go over there to Austria. Great place to look at. Trams, beautifully clean, organised streets. Trams going up and down the road all the time from the 1930s. All of them, wooden trams, and they're all electrically powered, every single one of them, and they've cost nothing for generations to run. It's crazy. My point is cars are modular to some degree. Yeah. Electric powertrain is basically there. The rest of the power source technology will evolve and basically install straight in, whether PHEV, BEV or fuel cell. Yes, you're right. It's true. They will. We will go to that point. But don't remember, car companies are not out for the environment. They're not out to make environmental decisions or to make your car buying experience cheaper. They're out to make money. They are businesses in the end, so they will do what money dictates. Will make them more profits. That's realistically what a car company does. They're not a benevolent fund. They're not out to make the world a better place. They're out to make money. And so they will stage us up over time, and depending on who's training you or where you're getting your training from is what you're going to sell as a car company or as whatever, and so it will happen when they scale it up and when they say it'll happen, not before. So it's like looking at the leak the leaked image of the Toyota, whatever it is, Celica or something that they put out now, or Supra, and they go leak. Car companies don't leak, lads. I'm absolutely telling you, that's put out as a press release quietly. And all of those pictures they don't leak. I'm telling you, I've dealt with multiple car companies all over the world, and if they don't want you to know something, they will not let you know anything. There's not a thing going to change that until they're goddamn good and ready. They will tell you. They signed so many secrecy acts, there's not a hope of it ever leaking out. Some of my best friends work in car companies directly for them and would have access to some of the cutting edge things in the middle of it. No hope of them ever telling me anything. They won't. Anyway, McAfee 2-litre TFSI can have differing internals across the VAG groupage, and turbos not all common. Yeah, the turbos do change for sure. Not a giant amount of differences. Some differences. I mean, when you go up to the Audi RS6 or S6, you might have some different valves and things. That's what it is. Lee Mycroft, VW will be releasing a Gen 2 electric up by the end of the year. I hope so, Lee. I really would love to see it. Agree we should ban older diesels, but from city centres first. Yes, we have to allow time for people to make the change. Stop the sale of import of Euro 4. And that's where I would lie. Stop the import of Euro 4 engines, not ones that are just previous to 2015. Just if it's a Euro 4 compliant engine or less, I would not allow them to be imported into this country. But yes, I agree, definitely city centres should just be clean of all vehicles except for buses. That's it. And taxis maybe, but only taxis and EV. That would be about it. I would also force Dublin Bus to go all electric instead of covertly ordering another 40 diesel buses before the ban comes in. Anyway, I'm not saying anything about who tipped off, who did what to who when it comes to Dublin Bus ordering that many buses that are all diesel when they're supposed to be ordering gas ones or electric ones. Woody Jim, coming late to the chat, saw the feed title, Leaf 24 kilowatt driver now considering a second Leaf version 1 30 kilowatt. These cars are a bargain with no VRT if they fit your lifestyle. Yes, exactly. I wouldn't call them a bargain though, you know. I think there's a fair premium being charged for electric cars over, say, a 1 litre, 5-door hatchback. I wouldn't call them this, like, you will save a ton of money, but actually purchase outlay, I think there's a bit of a charge being pushed onto these cars, but I have no issue with that at all. I think it's a great idea to move from 24 to 30. You will see the difference. You will definitely see the difference in range for sure. The issue with electric cars is that they can cruise on motorway speeds 90 miles per hour with a significant fall in range. Every car does that, unfortunately, and that's, I promise you, you drive a petrol car, any petrol car or any diesel car around a town, go out on a motorway, that's why they have different cycles. They all do it. The faster the car wants to go, the faster you want to go, the faster the car has to go, the more energy is required to get there. It doesn't matter what the energy is, whether it's diesel, petrol, hydrogen, electric. If you want to go faster, you will have to put more energy through the system. That's just the way it is. There's that question again. He's asked that question 3 or 4 times now. The RX 450H. This is like a glitch in the Matrix, class. I'm serious. It's the same old stuff. How have you found the Outlander PHEV? Very good. Bit of a compromise. You really have to charge the bloody thing all the time. But if you charge it up, you certainly do get the value back out of it. Little bit of an old-fashioned interior, polarizing a bit on the exterior bit as well, as very Asian looking, but tech underneath is second to none. Haven't driven something that as efficient as that, unless you count the BMW 5 Series E or the E530, whatever it's called. That's very efficient as well. This is just as efficient, if not more, and it's a big car. It's a 4-wheel drive. It will drive off-road. The boot space is decent. Shame the tonneau cover is a bit of a leathery thing. Funny old yoke, but it's a bloody good car. Filmed it today, lash and rain, had to film in Tesco car park, underground car park. It was a bit dark in there, so the video is going to be a bit dark as well. But sure, we'll find out. Bob, have you ever... there's that next man, I've answered that question. Stop asking that question. I'm going to ban you after a while. Paul Hickey, are the new Skoda cars so good that some stage down the road they will make it hard to justify paying big money for an Audi? They already do, Paul, to be honest with you. Some of the Skodas are out there now. They have been getting a rap on the knuckles lately, and the car's quality and refinements are kind of showing through a little bit as Audi stretches ahead again. But some of the cars that are out there, like some of the value in Skoda stuff out there right now, is very, very good. Derek Norris, what car are you bringing to the meetup in 2 weeks' time? The Hyundai Kona EV, all electric. You'll be one of the first people in the country to be able to see it in the flesh. I'm going to bring that with me on the day, and we'll charge it up if I need to down there. I probably won't, but you can bring it up and you have a spin it or something as well, Derek. So come down and have a look at that if you want to see the newest of the Hyundai Kona EV cars. That's not next week, week after, yeah. Darko says, great job, Bob. I'm looking for you from Macedonia. Good man. Different market, but I get the advice from you. See, everybody across the whole of the world get the old advice here on the Sunday service with the rest of us here as well. Like I say, if you want to join us on the Sunday service community over on Facebook, you can. Andy McAfee put up a link a few minutes ago of that. Check it out. Great little community, great bunch of people there. Everybody, some of the lads have actually met each other because we've actually had a physical meet where some of the fellas from the Sunday Service community, some of the guys who are here today, including Derek Norris, who just asked me questions a second ago, we all met up right down here in Midway in Portlaoise, and it's happening again in 2 weeks' time. If you want to come along, if you're in Ireland and you want to bring whatever car you drive, you don't have to bring anything fancy. The lads turned up there the last time, and there was electric cars, there was diesel cars, there was petrol cars, all kinds of things turned up. So if you want to come down and all have a look at each other's cars. We'll have a cup of coffee and a sandwich or something. There is an electric charge point, there is a fast charge point, slow charge point, CCS, Chemido, the whole lot's all here, fast charger at that unit. Multiple restaurants, a hotel and a petrol station all nearby. So you're all fine. Charles Costa, thank you very much, Bob. You deserve more subscribers. Great channel. Thank you very much. Donated €2 on the Sunday service. Super chat. I'm only coming to super chats, lads. I missed out on the super chats. I'm really sorry. I know loads of you there are after putting in money today, and I'm sorry I missed some of it. Bob, there seems to be a rush to make everybody buy electronic cars without having heard how they will deal with the battery recycling later on. Battery recycling is really easy for us to do. We're already doing it. It's already happening. They get converted back into other batteries. The system is already in place for most of the car companies. Recycling is very low down on the list because most of the cars that are on the road have never had a recycled battery. So very few have failed. We're at a very low stage of failure, but now we've had very few cars on the road as well at the same time. But recycling is quite straightforward, so there's no problem with rushing people trying to get them into electric cars and worrying about recycling them after they're already recycling. If you look at the BMW i system, is it 70 or 80% of the car? Maybe it's 80% of the car is made from recycled materials. The other 20% is made from materials that can be recycled. So it's already happening. It's already been taken care of. Luke W. Mitsubishi dealers in the UK now refusing end of lease FEVs as the trade-ins due to battery pack failures. Under 5% lithium-based batteries are recycled worldwide. VRS 95% lead acid. You're going to get a few comments on that one, Luke. Bobby, there's that question again. My God. He's asked that question like 30,000 times. Most of those are tiny smartphone batteries. There is a substantial difference between the electronics economics of recycling a 30-gram smartphone cell and a 450 kg vehicle pack. It's true. Tesla Model 3 is now also available mid-range. Still expensive. Luke W. Nope, it's a problem with this chemistry. I'm working in university here on BMW pack. Some very techie guys have arrived on the Sunday service. John says bacon, cabbage, potatoes. Oh my God, I need some now. I think this is drought sagas all over again. Donut saga all over again. It is, yeah, because I remember last time I mentioned the donut thing, we had a massive saga over now. But of course we have bacon, cabbage, potatoes here in Ireland. It's quite a normal thing for everybody to be eating. I wouldn't eat the bacon now myself anymore because I'm a vegetarian. I'm sorry, I know, for anyone who's not to be involved in vegetarian veganism. I went vegetarian well over 12 months ago now. It must be nearly 2 years this stage. Mostly for animal cruelty purposes, but also because there's some meats I just don't like the taste of as well, and I thought vegetarian was good, so I went all vegetarian, and I've been vegetarian for a long time. We went off vegetarianism for Christmas. We had ham and we had turkey dinner here as normal. We didn't really like the turkey. Loved the ham. The ham was gorgeous. But we're back on being vegetarian again, so back on doing that. So very, very, very little meat product of any kind comes into the house. We do eat, we call it pescatarian really, because we do eat eggs and we do eat fish. We had shellfish yesterday. We had lovely prawns here. I did a prawn stir fry yesterday. So, but bacon would be a very rare. We had at Christmas. That was the first time we had it in at least 12 months. Luke W says cobalt is a massive issue. 60% from lungs on the planet rainforest of DRC and lots of child labour. They're all coming out of woodwork now. Everyone's here now at this stage, and everyone's asking millions of questions. John, give me £10. John, you're such a generous person. You're very kind. Thank you very, very much for donating that kind of money here on the Sunday service, on our super chat. It's very good of you to have you here, and your support is always welcome right here. Subscribe at least. If you can support in any other way, it's always brilliant. William Hope has also donated £9.99, obviously from a different currency, and has ended up donating 1 cent, 1 pence less. I hope that doesn't mess up your accounts when it comes to, if you're trying to find that 1 pence invoice somewhere. Thank you very much, William Hope. You're very kind, very generous. I watch your reviews all the time now. When I'm stuck in bed with the flu, I'm watching the Sunday service again. I love it. I hope you get better very, very soon, William Hope. Keep yourself in one piece. Don't worry about drugs or anything like that. But what I did yesterday was honey, lemon, and lime. Not lemon. Honey, hot water, and lime in a cup, in a glass, and sip away at that. It's absolutely delicious. Tons of lime now. About half a lime squeezed into it. It's gorgeous. Give you a boost of vitamin C, and the honey will give you a bit of sugar, liquid sugar, and it'll make you feel a lot better. There's now an argument breaking out between people about whether we should have electric cars or not. But we should, of course, have electric cars. I have over 180,000 kilometres on my i3 and go well beyond 100 kilometres. There you go. That's Cross. He has been driving i3. I have seen it, and he's right. He does have that many kilometres on it. Paul O'Connor sent me an email. Thanks, Paul. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Live Cool, Mr. If you drive an i3, hello Bob. Any insider info on the issues on the 1.5 TSI engines, kangarooing, etc. Some say it's manuals, not DSG, and pre-WLTP. Any info for VAG, Skoda? I don't. There's no official stuff going on. It's a lot of supposition going on around the 1.5 TSI engine kangarooing, as you would call it, which is a vibration inside. The problem is you've got several different kinds of vibrations that come from engine. One would be what's called sympathetic vibration. So when you hear a noise inside the cabin of the car, sometimes that's a sympathetic vibration that the engine has caused. You can't hear the vibration from the engine. It's just being sympathetically reproduced inside the cabin. Now, kangarooing is not that kind of thing. So kangarooing is where an engine is, it's trying to cut out nearly. It feels like it's trying to cut out as you go along the road. That's kangarooing, and many other little kind of remarks around it. I have nothing official, and even though I've asked a couple of marketing people, they've no official statement for me either. Nothing I can reproduce here. I'd like to see something come out about it, because it's been since WLTP, it seems to have had a massive increase on the problems of it. If there's any recall on, I haven't heard about that one either. So, but the Volkswagen Group, VAG Group, tend to do things very quietly. I mean, they just do things and it just happens, and they don't tell us, little journalists out here, anywhere. Peter Dolan has given money on the Sunday service as well. Thank you very much, Peter Dolan. You're very kind. Did I miss anybody on PayPal? No. Just in case I sometimes do. Yes, it did. Raymond Grace, you're very good. Has donated money through PayPal. You're all very, very kind today. This is brilliant to have you all back here again. And so many of you today. This has to be one of the most viewed days I'll have since the beginning of the year. It's the first one since the beginning of the year, so yeah, it would be the most viewed day, but one of the most viewed days we've had so far. This channel has grown massively. Paul O'Connor, thank you very much. He has donated a huge amount of money as well. Thank you very much, Paul O'Connor. €10 donated into the coffers here to keep us all running and free, so I don't have to go near the car companies for sponsorship. John says, slow down Bob, take your time, answer questions. I finish work at 6. It's 4:10. We're doing well. We've been on the air for 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think the longest I've ever done was 2 hours and 20, if I remember correctly. But it does go on. Thanks for answering the questions, Bob Topman. See there, he asked the question about 47 times. I did eventually answer it, and I'm catching up. I'm at 3:46 p.m. was last questions. John Carney, good man. Here's from New Year, the Sunday service. John Carney there donating money, €5 from John Carney. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. John teaches car driving for vans and cars and trucks and stuff. And so if you want to get in touch with him to get driving lessons on any sort of vehicle, he's your man to talk to. He's also on our Facebook Sunday Service community group over there if you want to check him out. You can at any time. Paul O'Connor, can you do a session on protective coatings? Are they worth it, etc.? Generally not. You know that I was thinking about that the other day. A fella asked me the other day, because there's a Canadian company that does an under seal. So under your car is sealed by this product. What it's designed to do is get rid of salt. So it's to repel the things that are being fired up by the road surface under the car. Now, car companies are pretty good at sealing the bottom of cars, but generally speaking, salty environments like living by the sea, or like now in Ireland, of course, we have gone the cheap route. We used to put grit, a mix of grit and salt on the road when it froze. Now we put a lot more salt, because salt is cheaper than grit. And so we melt things by putting salt on the road, but actually salt doesn't melt anything. Salt stops things freezing. Just thought I'd say that. It doesn't actually melt stuff. It just stops it freezing over. It turns it back to liquid, and then stops it freezing out the way they work it. But if you want to seal the underside of your car, that's usually a pretty good idea. If you can, it's really expensive and can be done at dealer level option from the factory. If you want to seal the coating on the outside of your car, you can do a clear wrap. And I had a man explain it to me last year about the clear wrap system, and it seems ingenious. It's like a plastic coating. Your car is polished to an end of its life. It's really polished up and clean. Then they cover it in this clear seal, and it seals in that coating forever. You never have to wash or clean or do nothing to the car ever again. You just take it back off and you're going to sell it, and that's the end of it. Absolutely brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant idea. Expensive, but it's a one-off thing. You only have to do it once. Only has to be a problem when it gets scratched, and then you just do that panel. So if the bonnet gets a massive scratch through it and the plastic's coming off, they just take the plastic off the bonnet and then replace that. So it's a bit cheaper getting it next time. Lisa Kemp, welcome Lisa. Bob, very close to buying an E-Class estate, 1-year-old, need the extra space. Is it a bad idea to spend this amount of money on a diesel these days? It's not, Lisa, really. For the next 5 to 10 years, you're fairly safe in a diesel car. You cannot just switch off what we've been doing with diesel and petrol over the last 100 years and just do it in 6 months. It just can't be done. So in the next 5 to 10 years, diesel, you're still going to be fine with it. I think it'll become a bit more like the way LPG is now. If you converted to run on LPG, you find it hard to find a place that sells LPG, but it's still there. You're still taxed and insured and everything. It still works just like a normal car, just has an LPG conversion. I think diesel will go that route over the next 5 or 10 years, but for the next 5 years to 10 years, you're going to be dead safe in a diesel. And you know, if you had the money to buy something that's 1-year-old, and an E-Class estate's a gorgeous car, buy an automatic, buy something a little bit up spec, you know, get something with double glazing, and it's very quiet, luxurious drive, expensive. Do me a favour, Lisa, when you're thinking about buying that car, go off and price the tyres for that car. I get on my drum now and start talking about this sort of thing. Go off and find out how much the size of the tyres, then go and price those tyres. If you can easily afford those tyres, buy that car. No problem. If you can't easily afford those tyres, because that's the one thing you are definitely going to have to change almost every year, if not every second year in that car, you will definitely have to change the tyres. And they're often the biggest stress purchase. It costs a bloody fortune to get those tyres changed. So bear that in mind. Fraggle Duff has just donated some money as well. You're all very generous. That's very good. Thank you very much. You're all very kind. And JR2K12, you need a better username than that. Hi Bob, love the channel. Keep up the good work. No problem at all. I will try my best to keep up the good work for as long as I can. The tough part for me, of course, is being an independent stuck out here. I'm not part of a bigger publishing group. I don't have the Indo or the Times or something to hide behind that I can say, well, you know, I'm writing for the Times, I can say whatever I want. I am a totally independent group out here, so it's a weird place to be. I'd be one of the few independent voices, I mean truly independent voices out here. To be a couple of others, but be very few left. Support your journalists is what I'm saying. Support the independent journalists out there as much as you possibly can. Not about me particularly, just support the independent publications. If you think they're telling the truth, if you can believe what they say, and there's very few people out there that I can watch a review of and go, he's definitely not on the take here, he's giving me the whole truth here. A lot of them are very reserved. A lot of newcomers to the game who sit back and go, this is very good, I kind of like this, I kind of like that. Either they don't know what they're talking about, or they're afraid they won't get any more cars. That's the part, that's the chase of it. If you're doing it for the chase like that. Anyway, John says, go on. That's Father Ted reference. Go on. You'll have a cup of tea. Bob, Vauxhall Astra, VRX, Cupra 280 or BMW M35i. What would you have? I would say from a driving performance point of view, I would go to BMW M135i. It's just a weird looking car and I'm not sure you're going to enjoy looking at it. Astra VXR is a very good car to drive but will almost certain break down. They're not reliable. They get hammered from the moment they're bought to the moment they're sold. They get hammered out of it. Cupra 280 would be where my money would go. It's a gorgeous car to look at, drives very well, is very fast, is actually faster than the Golf GTI. An amazing looking vehicle, will do you forever, and it's a Seat, so they put a lot of money into the reliability end of the things as well. And in actual fact, I've worked on that engine. I have. It's easy to do the stuff on. You can do the servicing yourself, actually. I have done it. So I serviced a friend of mine's Cupra 280 recently, and it was child's play. The oil filters hanging off the bottom of the car, the spark plugs are where they're supposed to be sticking up off the top of the car. It's really easy to fix. It's a pretty straightforward engine, so I had no problem fixing that at all. So easy look after that. Go Cupra 280. Okay, it is 4:15. We've had 2 hours and 15 minutes of fun, and there's still over 100 of you here watching, so it's been absolutely fantastic to have you here. And Josh Ryan has just donated some money as well. You're all so generous today. Thank you very, very much. My contact details are, as always, bobflav@thenextgear.com for your emails if you want to. Don't hold me to responding to you immediately. It takes a long time to get those emails through. There's so many of them these days. You can contact me on Twitter. I'm at Bob Flavin. On Instagram, it's probably even faster. I'm at Bob Flavin there as well. Leave a comment on a video. You can leave a comment on some of the posts and messages that I do here in videos as well. There's multiple ways to get in touch. Our Sunday service community is over on Facebook, of course. You can go over there and join us in that. I do respond to anytime I'm tagged if I think of it, if I get there. So many ways of keeping in touch at all times is great. If you can support the channel in some way or other, by financially, I mean, there are links down below to PayPal. It's Bob Flav the Next Gear on PayPal as well. Patreon. There's Super Chat here while it's live. I think that only works while it's live. Patreon is here as well. That's a drip feed thing. If you can send any money to keep the channel free, it's brilliant. Any donations are always welcome. There's multiple ways to get in touch. Get in touch with us. Get in touch with Andy McAfee. Will also answer your questions too. Come on down to the Midway in Portlaoise on the 27th of this month, which is 2 weeks' time, for an actual live meetup. Come and see the latest Hyundai Kona or whatever. Hopefully 32,000 of you won't arrive all at once. Hopefully the usual sort of crew to turn up. And today we're just finishing the Sunday service, and now we have 32,187 subscribers. So we've had 187 subscribers since yesterday. Thank you very much. It's been absolutely brilliant. Hopefully I will see you next week, same time, same place next week at a Sunday service on a Sunday at 2 p.m. GMT. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.